Does anyone want to buy 15 navy blue polo shirts?
Welcome to the Rooster Teeth podcast. This week brought to you by Hims, Magic the Gathering Arena, and Dave. I'm Gus.
The dude, man.
I'm Jeff. Did I do it right, Gus?
And I'm Gus. Good, you did it.
Thank you.
I was getting shit.
Here's why Gus never wants to mess up the intros. Because it's his one joke. Because he gets to the end, Gus at the
one
end.
joke. That's
your one running joke.
That's the way you get it. You just keep repeating it over and over, and then you get there. When I don't do it, people get mad. They're like, "Why didn't Gus say it?"
Is it your?
That's mad.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to deal with the heat I get when I don't introduce myself twice. It's nonstop.
He almost got canceled last time. So it's a big problem. Also, it is though. You can imagine how frustrating it is when people come on here who are performers 5 days a week at this company. They come on here. There's an intro. And it's usually this seat, the third seat, the person just doesn't know what to do when it gets them. It's like, couldn't figure it out? Couldn't, just from context, figure it out?
Yeah, that's why right before we went, I was like, just a reminder, this.
He briefed everybody.
Yeah, gotta get it done. We have a system.
Talking about being professional, I had my laptop sound on, so sorry about that.
I felt really bad for a second the other day.
Really?
I was laughing at a kid who was crying at Home Depot.
Why was he crying?
So, I ran into this kid a few times
Physically?
while I was there.
He punched the
Maybe
kid.
that's why I was crying.
He was, him and his brother were just being like little fucking dicks. You know that there's those stairs that the Home Depot employees use to they move them around. They got the signs all over it. It's like employees only. They were climbing up the stairs and then seeing who could jump off the tallest step.
Those are great kids.
Those guys are awesome. They're making their own fun.
I'm trying to walk by them and they're getting in my way and stopping and just staring at me and not moving. I'm like,
because they know they're in trouble. They think you're an employee.
Get the
you're an
fuck out
adult.
of my way. I don't care. Anyway, I was fed up with these kids. I kept running into them. They kept being little dicks. I go to check out and I can hear one of them kind of yelling. I'm like, thank God, I'm checking out. I'm going to be done. I don't have to run into him. I go to leave. And as I'm leaving, one of the kids kind of pushes by me, tears streaming down his face. And he's looking around yelling, "Dad!" And I was like, seriously, right, little dick.
Really?
He's crying.
How old was he?
He's probably 10.
You should have been like, "Oh, you looking for your dad? I saw him leave 10 minutes ago."
Oh, that guy about this big, bald. Yeah. No, he's gone.
You should have just
said you're mine now.
Yeah, exactly.
Get in the back of the truck.
Should have showed him your receipt from Home Depot real quick. Say, "Oh, your dad sold you to me.
You're my child now."
Get in the car. Because then you go to jail for that joke, right? The guy comes back and beats the shit out of you.
Yeah, well.
What are you doing at Home Depot?
What was I doing? Oh, goddamn.
Were you buying ratchets?
I have this fucking soaker hose that has a hole in it.
Okay, gardening. Okay, this makes sense.
And I don't know, fucking possum chewed a hole in it or something. And I tried putting flex tape.
Hoses.
You know, there's
a hole in your soaker hose. That would be detrimental.
It's high pressure. It's not. It's too big. So I was like, you ever see those stupid flex tape commercials, right? Flex tape. It's waterproof, whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to fix it. Flex tape didn't fucking work. So I had
Did you get flex tape?
Here's your problem. Flex tape is for bigger projects. If you needed to put a boat back together, flex tape's what you need.
I could.
A hose? Flex tape doesn't fucking
I had to get some of that spray shit, that spray adhesive stuff, and that's what I was there for. I was buying some of that.
Don't want to open up a can of worms, but Home Depot, it's a little Trumpy.
Is it?
Very.
Yeah, super Trumpy. I've switched to Lowe's.
Oh, Lowe's is so.
But how do you know?
It's the worst. They released
Lowe's is the worst. What an endorsement! I switched to Lowe's. It's the worst.
It really sucks. It's like you go to Lowe's. And then you go to Lowe's to shop, and then you leave and go to Home Depot to get the 3 things they didn't have.
They used to have.
It's really true.
I always thought it was funny. All these stores have slogans, right? I remember for a long time, Home Depot's was "You can build it, we can help." Lowe's was "Let's build something together," and McCoy's, which is another hardware store, was "Go build something." It's I love how different the attitude is.
Go build it yourself.
Quit loitering. Go build something.
Yeah, it's the first two are "Let's do something together." The third was "Yeah, get the fuck out."
No,
Go build yourself, asshole.
I thought we were talking about this with Jason the other day, I think, but I've been trying to support local hardware stores, so I've been going to Breed and Company because it's pretty close to my house.
No shit, they've been around forever.
Yeah.
That used to be the closest hardware store.
Marcus was telling me that's how he got into the entertainment industry. So he worked there.
Yep.
And a lot of people in the industry would go there and ask for weird shit. And I think it was a DP or maybe it was an art department guy.
Director of photography.
Yeah.
Not the other kind of DP. That's a different film world.
But came in and met Marcus. It was like, this is a cool dude. And hired him.
That's where
that would not have happened in Home Depot.
Who was it that hired him?
This is a part of the story I'm kind of fuzzy on because of the
DP thing.
The time of the evening.
That's also where that UT student went to go buy all the hardware to commit that murder
Where he and his
Well, okay.
15
Maybe
years
you're the
old
guy.
chopped up the other girl. Yeah, that was the first thing I said to Jason. We had dinner with Jason Saldana last week, and I said we were talking about Home Depot and like Lowe's and like we talked about like shopping where your political I guess interests lie or not. And I mentioned that I'd been going to Breeding Company, and Jason just goes, "Oh, that's where the dude bought the stuff to cut up the woman.
Yeah.
That's where he bought the saws and stuff." Okay.
If you and like
Not a reason
don't-
not to go.
That's
Jason,
not their slogan. Like, go build it. Get the fuck out of here and build it.
Take
Or,
apart your
"This
ex-girlfriend in a bathtub."
Murder kits here.
Yeah, Jesus, that's right, Eric.
Jason's good at three things: like weird Austin history, making cute kids. 'Cause
Yes.
he makes cute kids,
Adorable kids.
and then knowing every single thing about Travis County real estate. Like
I was about to say.
literally anything. Like when I was looking for a house, he's like, "I heard you're looking for a house." Like, yeah. And he goes, "This just came on the market. This just came on the market." I was like, "Do you just do this all day?"
He does.
Like just look at
found-
listings.
He found us an office once.
He did.
He found like the house that I lived in before my new house, the one that I lived in with Griffin. That they still live in. He's the one that told me about the listing.
Is it really-
He's like,
is
this
it
house
true?
just went for sale today. And then when I bought the new house, he already knew what it was. I was like, yeah, I bought
Yeah.
a house over in this area.
That's
And he
what
goes,
I did.
He goes, oh, I know where that one is. I bet it's this one. And I was like, yeah.
He knew my house when I said I moved into a new place. He goes, "Where?" I said, "This place and this place." And he goes, "Oh, is it this one?" I go, "Yes, that's it."
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but at the same time, it's like he's just up to date on everything.
He knows all the houses that are for sale in Austin, and he knows all the used cars that are for sale in Austin as well.
Oh, is that true? Like classic cars and
wasn't
stuff?
aware of that.
Yeah, he I don't know. He always looks at Craigslist used cars or something. You're like, oh yeah, I like this kind of car. It's like, oh, here's 5 that are for sale right now in Austin.
When we moved to this studio, there's a path to get here that goes by this kind of classic car dealership, and I think about you two guys every time I drive past that thing.
Is it the one?
It's like once a week.
Because of their dumb old trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, because not because they're dumb old trucks. Him was always he wanted a classic El Camino. That's what he wanted,
59.
and Jeff wanted a classic Bronco.
Still do.
That was the big dream. Gonna make it someday.
Still going to get that Bronco. Just as soon as I pay off the more important shit.
Well, I do remember too. You went shopping for a Bronco and literally bought a Mustang that day.
Because it was for sale.
Or you're just like, I looked and it was too
horse
hard.
cars?
I couldn't find one, so I just bought this car. One day.
Was it
one day? It was his big dream. He stuck with
was
it for one
65.
day.
Was it 66 or 65?
65.
You want to
No,
say hi with that
66,
baby?
Gus.
I thought it was a
Ashley?
66.
You're right. It was a
Really?
black 66 Mustang.
Could it have been any vehicle named after a horse?
Yes, probably at that point.
Okay. He looked at a
feed him,
Pinto.
okay.
It was awesome. But, it didn't pan
Your
out.
trucks were terrible though. That was like what, 2004?
4, yeah. I needed a car. I needed the cheapest car I could. It's when I moved back from
You
Puerto
guys
Rico.
were like first paycheck. You guys.
No,
were
I needed the cheapest car I could to drive to fucking Butte to work.
get the fuck out of here. So you
Gus
bought a
is-
1960 Chevy.
I bought a
That's-
64 Chevy for $3,000.
And it was beautiful to drive by every day on the side of the interstate.
At least I didn't fucking replace the engine and let it rot in my driveway, asshole.
I
We
sold
were
that
talking
thing.
about that,
I
you fucking
sold
piece
that
of shit.
thing.
You didn't. And you let it. The engine died. You replaced it, and then you didn't. You never drove it again. It fucking sat in your driveway and rotted.
It didn't rot. It still worked.
It rotted.
The guy drove it away when he bought it.
The fucking thing was no. I refuse to believe that.
I believe the rotting part because you remember I went through the trouble. You guys were coming over on such a regular basis, and my driveway hit that
Here we
house in
fucking
Butte
go about
was
this fucking stain again. It's been 17 years.
skinny. It's been 16 years. Skinny little driveway. So I paid
damn.
money out of my own pocket to build a parking pad, like just an extension of the driveway where these guys could park.
Nobody asked you to do that.
It was supposed to be nice.
I was happy to park on the grass.
Then the first day the cement's brand new. The first day you could handle having a car, and Jeff parks his car there, and it left a gigantic rust stain on it.
To be fair, half of it was oil. It wasn't all rust.
Also, it's a fucking driveway in the elements, man.
But it's brand new.
It's a car house.
You have to admit it looked horrible.
The stain?
Yeah.
I didn't pay a lot of attention to it.
I see. I
It wasn't
fucking
my house.
You parked on top of it. You couldn't see
I
it.
didn't see it for shit.
See, I did a thing in my current house. I can't have any luck with this. I did a thing in my current house when I moved in where I was having the house painted on the inside anyway.
As you do.
So I told the painters, hey, can you guys just paint the garage floor? Like seal it. Because Marcus, you can't see it, but he sealed the floor in here in stage 5. And it's really like a shop floor. And it's great. And it makes it easier to clean everything. So I had him do that. It's like, they had never done it before, and they just did a super shitty job, and I'm still dealing with it like 5 years later.
Is it like got like a gritty texture, like sand or anything to it?
No, in fact, I made it too light. I should have made it darker because now it's like I got to clean the thing the whole time because it shows stains like a light gray. And then anywhere where there was oil already in the cement, the oil just kind of like rose back up again and then knocked the paint off there. So I have like these holes in it.
So my, you know,
That defeats the purpose. Yeah.
Totally defeats the purpose.
My cousin who lives in your neighborhood, he and his husband, when they put a fucking lift in their garage so that he can lift the Lamborghini or whatever car he has.
Jesus.
This is what happens. This is what
I think he actually has a McLaren right now, but
gays move in and all the property values go up. That's it. That's what happens.
true.
That's what happens.
Oh, with their $100,000 cars. My cousin's husband collects cars, and he's a successful. He owns a construction company, so he's got money.
Does the Lamborghini drip rust onto the McLaren?
No, it drips onto a Porsche.
Oh, no, Porsche.
But so he literally, because he has like 4, he just keeps cars all the time. So they have a lift. They have 2 lifts that raise up so they can put the other cars under. But they have like it's almost like they got the floor powder coated, but it has like a grit in it, and it's like a black and white thing.
Yeah, mine has
really
like
cool.
flex in it. It should have that, but it doesn't have that. So I'm trying to. I'm sitting over thinking. Do I know any dude couples that are broke? And I don't think I do. What is the demographic? Are they like at the top of the food chain in terms of like income and everything?
I don't want to generalize.
Here we go, though.
Go for it, dude. My last podcast. I have 90 minutes to get canceled.
Listen, this is not my last podcast, okay? I have to come back.
I'm going to say, anecdotally, in my experience, gay men are the happiest people on earth.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
They really are. I don't know a lot of miserable gay men. And they have it figured out. Henry Rollins had a bit. I think I may have even talked about this on the podcast before, but he had a bit when he in his spoken word where he talked about in that like 87 he was living in LA and his neighbors were these 2 gay dudes, and it's kind of how he like his introduction to gay culture, I guess, was living next to these 2 dudes. And he said, I figured out after about 2 weeks, like these guys would come home, they would drink a bunch of beer, they would watch baseball, then they would listen to Black Sabbath and fuck each other. And I was thinking, what do you say?
Eric's like, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And he was thinking like, these guys are having every day is a vacation for these guys. Like their lives are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm fucking miserable. These guys, they're just high-fiving and fucking and getting drunk and watching sports.
Can only imagine it.
Can only imagine, yeah.
Like
it's awesome.
If I had a boyfriend or a partner, I know the conversations take place would be like, hey, which one of us do you think could come further? Like, and that would be a day. That would be a day figuring that out.
Yeah.
I can't have that conversation with Ashley. You know what I mean? It's like I'm missing that in my life. Sorry, Ashley. It's a beautiful baby that we made together though.
If you ever want to have a come off.
Yeah, you want to go out with a bang? I mean, see if you can make it off of the polished concrete.
Wait until the post show. We'll do that on the post show.
Also, okay, can I say preface it that like if you talk to like older gay men, nobody has had a tougher time in America in the last 50 years maybe than older gay men.
Well,
a lot of people have had a tough time.
Let's not go ranking. Yeah,
but like the world is a much better place. I heard actually Scott Thompson from Kids in the Hall was on a podcast recently. I heard the interview, and he was just talking about like how much it fucking kind of sucks to be an older gay entertainer who has like broken down a lot of doors but get no credit for it from the current, I guess, generation of gay people who didn't have to go through that. And just like he just had like 1,000-yard stare, and he just like, my life has been miserable.
Seriously, growing
up in that era. They also got, I didn't know this, they got fucked over. Like they didn't make a dime off that HBO show.
Well, and it's also,
and they didn't make a dime off of it on Comedy Central, which is where the show really had its legs.
You know, if you ever like tune into a radio station or a podcast and one of the kids in the hall is sitting down for an interview, buckle up, because there's no like real happy stories. Like even Dave Foley, who went off and was on talk radio for years after that, his stories that he tells about his divorce.
Yeah, he can't go back to Canada.
He can't go to Canada. According to him, he can't go back to Canada because the moment he sets foot in Canada, they just like, you know, destroy his bank account. Hello, baby. Yeah, I don't know if you hear the baby in the background. Probably can't because Mike's doing his job. But my little baby is sitting over there with Ashley. Maybe he'll make an appearance later. Say hello.
Hello.
Maybe
what's that?
After this, maybe baby, maybe later.
I might have to go.
You already booking your replacement over here?
Yeah, right. He's raised up. Teddy wanted to come today. It's gonna be tough with school and everything. I had the worst traffic coming over here today.
Really?
Yeah, like after lunch, I was like trying to cross through traffic, trying to get back across town, and it was just like
It used to be like, oh, traffic's only bad rush hour. Then it was like, oh, traffic's only bad rush hour and Friday. Then it was like,
what is about Friday?
What the fuck is it with Friday?
It starts at like 10 a.m.
And then now it's like, oh, it's just if the sun's out, there's traffic. Or if the sun's out, or it's 2 a.m. It's just like it's just creepy to the point where it's going to be all the time.
So little Gustavo Raul Sorolla IV over there, he
no relation.
He has
don't want a Dave Foley situation here.
Yeah, when he was
dark.
It's hard to feel. You listen to this interview with Dave Foley. It's hard to feel bad for him. I think maybe it was either Joe Rogan or Howard Stern that he was doing one of these in-depth things on. It's like he's like, I don't have any money, and it's like, she took all my money and everything. But then he also then, in the same breath, tells stories about turning his outdoor pool in LA up to like 90 degrees. So that the girls at the party would take their tops off. It's
Sucks to be broke.
It's really hard to feel bad for a guy who's still in a position to be able to do that.
Also, I mean, come on, is it really that hot that you're like, oh, it's really hot, I better take my bikini top off?
I don't know. It's such a weird.
That's such a stupid story.
It's a weird story to begin with.
Who's the one with the curly hair? I'm drawing a blank on it. Kevin
Andy Dick?
No, Kevin
McDonald.
Kevin McDonald.
Kevin McDonald.
Yeah, Kevin McDonald.
Mark McKinney's on Superstore. Got to meet him at a Destiny event. That was really.
Mark McKinney's interesting because he was on Kids in the Hall and SNL. He's the only person to ever be on two of those shows.
Really?
But
the only one who ever will be, probably.
Kevin McDonald. Yeah, fair enough. Kevin McDonald. I heard him on a podcast recently, and he was talking about, also fascinating. He was talking about, I think it was John Fugelsang on POTUS, but who's also a very funny comedian. But he was saying that an interesting side effect of the current climate is the Kids in the Hall guys no longer have permission from their audience to play women.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, like they did it. They were like, we did it out of necessity because we just didn't know any women. But yeah, they've had to cut all their female characters out of Kids in the Hall now.
Does that include his chicken lady character?
Yeah.
Is that like a big
You mean
deal
cut
there?
him out of the shows that are currently...
The live shows that they do and stuff on tour.
Oh, they're still doing
Yeah,
live
he
shows?
says if they do. Yeah, they do still do tours and stuff, and they get in trouble. They said they just had to stop.
Huh.
I realized he still toured.
Yeah,
Scott
and they were
Thompson
like,
was always had great female characters too. He was like who's the dude from Terry Gilliam from Monty Python that always played women and did such an amazing job at doing it, but just can't do it these days.
And that's what Kevin McDonald said. He was like, we weren't trying to take jobs away from women or anybody or anything. We were just ripping off Monty Python because we were in love with them. Yeah, and we was like, everything we did was a ripoff of Monty Python.
Yeah,
you know, and it's just interesting how times have evolved. Yeah.
And there was the other guy. I hate to call him out for this, but he was the shorter guy, the more athletic guy.
Bruce McCullough.
Bruce McCullough, right? Okay, he did some great like short film stuff on there, like that. You know, in the style of now digital shorts on SNL.
Yeah.
Of course, Rich Hall was doing shorts on SNL a long time ago. The Sniglets guy
Gets no credit for that.
Gets no credit for that.
Yeah,
and he made some really amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made that one short where he worked as like sweeping up in a grocery store. And there was that mat in front of the doors. It used to be not a sensor, but a mat.
Yeah,
you'd step on that would open doors at the grocery store. And he moved the mat to sweep under it. And then a guy smacks into the door. And they realize it's the door the mat that's magic. So he like takes it and puts it in front of like bank vaults and
That's
stuff.
a great idea.
Opens it up. Then he like cuts it out and puts it on his shoes. It was like a really great short. Had nothing to do with SNL.
Another one back in that day that was really good was the one where Eddie Murphy put on whiteface and walked around as a white guy all day long.
Yeah.
And he went and tried to get a loan at a bank and stuff.
Did you see he's coming back to Saturday Night Live? He's going to, not to be on it, but he's going to host.
Well, he's
always had a contentious relationship with SNL, I think, yeah. Because there was that whole weird thing when they had that, was it the 40th anniversary or whatever? He came out and made that really weird speech and everybody was a little weirded out by him. And then apparently he's been doing literally nothing for like the last 6 or 7 years.
Nothing, yeah.
Intentionally.
Have you seen
Doesn't he make like 25% of all the Shrek movies? He's like the Robert Downey Jr.
But when was the last one time there was a Shrek movie?
Fuck cares?
He was the highest grossing actor of all time until he stopped even making movies.
Did you see the comedians in Cars with Coffee?
I did.
Getting coffee with Eddie Murphy?
No, he's on that?
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's about 45 minutes long.
Is it this season or?
Yeah, it was like the first episode of this most recent.
That's a great show.
He's coming back to stand up. He signed a deal with Netflix. I think it's like a $70 million deal.
Did you have his stand-up albums when you were a kid?
I had Delirious and Raw.
I think that's the only ones that he made,
those are the
right?
only ones I know of. Yeah.
Like I had them until my parents took them away.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed.
I bought remember he made those music albums? Mm-hmm. There's got to be like one section on here that he hasn't promoted that's going to be like really terrible, vulgar comedy routine that he's sneaking in for kids like me who got the albums, the comedy albums taken away. But there wasn't.
No, there was not.
Which was a disappointment.
There was just plenty of wonderful 80s pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, just wonderful 80s pop. Yes.
That Comedians in Cars was really fascinating because he was pretty honest about his career and about his fear. Part of why he hasn't done stand-up in so long is because he's terrified of it because it's been so long. And he's like, my biggest regret in life is that I stopped because it's so much harder to start. And he's like, he admitted, he's like, I feel so much pressure.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, but he's going to do it now. He said he couldn't avoid it forever.
It's one of those shows too, where it's like, and we're dealing with this lately because there's a podcast out there that's like the same basic premise as Day 5. And all the creatives who work on Day 5 are like, hey, what are we going to do about this? It's like, that's just the way entertainment works. It's, you know, it's like Comedians in Cars getting coffee. It's even like Jerry Seinfeld calls it out in this season's promo, all the people that have like ripped off Comedians in Cars getting coffee. And it's like, almost like, maybe you shouldn't do that, you know?
Wasn't there another show? Like, I feel like he made
an Alec Baldwin one.
I feel like he made a statement about that, and then somebody pointed out, yeah, there was also this other show before yours.
Right.
That was basically
the same
Which is
probably
thing.
the case at this point for just about anything.
Everything.
But I just saw like it's MTV now has a Hot Ones show. And Sean, the guy who...
MTV has a Hot Ones show?
Dude, and Sean, the guy who like, tweeted about it, the guy who does Hot Ones and First We Feast, he's like, you know, they ripped it off down to everything. Like even the set, the cheap, low-budget set's the exact fucking
What do they call it?
Hot Twos.
Wild Ones?
Thank you.
I'll see. You can look him up. Eric, you can probably pull that tweet up.
That's rough.
As long as someone laughs. That's all that matters. This episode of the Rooster Teeth Podcast is brought to you by Hims. Did you know that by age 35, 66% of men already start to lose their hair? And even worse, it's often too late by the time you notice it. With hair loss, the best thing to do is to stop it while you can. Let 4hims.com help. It's a one-stop shop for hair loss, skincare, and sexual wellness for men. I look at my hair every day, I'm sure just like you do. We all worry that it's starting to thin. I really like that there's something that could help me feel better about keeping my hair. And thanks to science, baldness can be optional. Hims uses licensed physicians and FDA-approved products to treat hair loss, letting guys feel like the best version of themselves. 4Hims saves you hours by connecting you with real doctors online, giving you prescription solutions that are backed by science. All you have to do is answer a few quick questions. One of their doctors will review, and if they determine it's right for you, they can prescribe hair loss medication that is then shipped directly to your doorstep. Order now. Our listeners can get started with the Hims Complete Hair Kit for just $5 today, right now, while supply lasts and subject to doctor approval. You can see the website for full details and safety information. This could cost hundreds if you went to the doctor or pharmacy somewhere else. Go to 4hims.com/rooster. That's FORHIMS.com/rooster. 4hims.com/rooster. Thanks, Hims, for sponsoring this episode of the Rooster Teeth Podcast.
But it's like, I mean, how many times have like...
Wild sauce.
Wild sauce. That's what it's called. Wild sauce. But it's like, how many times it's like, I mean, stuff you've worked on, you see it again. How many RVB... There was no real like machinima before RBB. There was like a couple like short films here or there, and there was this massive explosion of it afterwards. A company even bought the company named Machinima, you know, in that fervor afterwards. I know Immersion's been, you know, done like 1 billion times, like the gaming thing.
It was done with Ryan Dunn.
The tough part about the Hot Ones thing is, and I've been through this, is it's MTV's, was it Wild Sauce?
Wild sauce.
Wild Sauce presented by Wendy's. And it's like, and that's the worst part is like when someone rips something off and then they get a big sponsor.
Oh boy, that's
They should have called it Wild and Out of Ideas.
That one gets a laugh.
Look at that.
That was funny.
It even says Wild Sauce presented by Wendy's at the bottom.
Wild and Out's a show.
I don't know about that.
I met that dude at the YouTube Partner Summit last year. He was a nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried his
It's
stuff.
just
It wasn't
like
that hot.
when people take other people's ideas, they're like can't even come up with their own look. Like they have to take somebody else's
everything.
look. You know what I mean? Like another person or
down to
even
every
a
detail.
character, down to the last detail. Man, that's just not, you know,
Like,
the dude's not cool with
It's
that.
like I said to the creative team working on it.
Dude does
It's
not
like,
abide.
congratulations, you are now a genre. That's what you can. When something
That's true.
becomes a genre and people just decide that this is not an original idea, now it's a genre and everyone else can do it. It's really cool, but at the same time, for the person who originally did it, kind of fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like I always think about George Romero. You know, he came up. If you told someone, come up with a new monster that has rules and everything, and yeah, zombies are based on like Haitian voodoo and things like that, but the zombie apocalypse where all the dead rise from the grave from some event and all the survivors are trying to stay alive, that's an original thing that he came up with. And then people decided zombies are a genre, and now everyone does it, you know? And why would he have, you know, get any money from The Walking Dead, even though he came up with this original idea?
And he made the 2 best zombie movies ever.
Go ahead. What are they? Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead.
Okay.
Night of the Living Dead's a fantastic film.
What is?
Night of the Living Dead?
Night of the Living Dead.
It still holds up very well.
Before I decided to look it up. before like Romero's interpretation of zombies. You're right; it was all like Haitian voodoo stuff. Or there was an old movie in 1932 where zombies were depicted as mindless henchmen under the spell of an evil magician.
Right.
So even then, like husks being controlled by some other
like
entity.
the undead. He combined like the zombie thing of being under a spell from voodoo and magic, and combined that with like ghouls of like vampires or Frankenstein's monster is essentially a zombie.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a surgically constructed zombie, and just one of them.
So Millie is taking a zombie class in school.
No, she's
and yeah, she is.
Public school?
Yeah.
I'm not paying my taxes.
And
I'm gonna write that in the total amount. No, there's a zombie class at a
There's
public
zombie
school.
class. But yeah, they actually studied Frankenstein. That's as the origins of zombies come from Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's monster.
Well, yes. Well, Frankenstein is the one that created the monster.
The word zombie is not used in Night of the Living Dead.
What's that?
The word zombie is not used in Night of the Living Dead.
Nor it's used one time, I think, in the original Dawn of the Dead. One time, a guy in the mall on the radio says zombie, and that's it.
Yes, Return of the Living Dead is awesome, Oni. I love that film. It has it's very near and dear to my heart because of the scene when the guy is like trying to eat his girlfriend, Tina, and he's like, "Oh, Tina, you hurt me. You made me cut my hand off, Tina, but I love you, darling. I want to eat your brains." That's like one of the best moments in a movie ever. And the punk rock chick gets naked in the cemetery, and she's got awesome boobs.
Yeah, that was the nice part of 80s horror movies.
I got one clap back there.
clap.
Thank you. You guys remember 86?
Nice.
It was awesome.
In every horror movie, somebody got naked.
That movie had a lame ass ending though, and that's what kills it for me. Return of the Living Dead.
Well, it was all like a campy like send up.
It
To me,
was.
it was like somebody. Even
There was just no ending to the movie. They're like, let's nuke it, I guess.
wasn't the main zombie the main one? Wasn't he like supposed to be inspired by the Iron Maiden album cover guy?
What?
Who was the guy who was
that
on
right?
all the covers of Iron Maiden?
Oh,
Eddie.
Eddie, right. I was going to say Eddie. Yeah, and I think that was the inspiration for
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's true. I never knew that as a kid.
I was of
did
that
like
too.
that
About
movie.
remember Brutal Legend, that game that Jack
Yeah.
Black gave a while ago. That was like the original like creators and artists' inspiration for that was talked about like sitting there and like staring at heavy metal album covers while listening to music and just imagining that world and what that would be and everything. I thought that's so cool to me.
We were talking about that game recently because that was like a defining moment in Achievement Hunter. We got that game like a month early, and so we made the definitive guide for all the collectibles.
Did Jack leave it in his car?
Yeah, but we it never came out because I don't know. You can get it's at a pawn shop somewhere in Austin. But we just remembered about how fucking hard it was. How Jack and I played that game like probably 100 hours just driving around in that car looking for the last like 4 collectibles, and just how miserable it was. And really, it sucks to be first.
It kind of does.
Kinda sucks
I
to
think
be
about that
first.
every time I use an achievement guide, even to this day. It's like, does somebody like sit down and like just really go through every nook and cranny of the level? I was just had in my back of my brain that the developers just go, yeah, here's where you can find like all this stuff.
I've been dealing with that a lot with World of Warcraft Classic. I've been playing that again.
I don't know how you.
And it's like, it's so big, and I've forgotten stuff like, I don't remember where the fuck this is. And you go and you look it up, it's like someone's already written this huge guide about like, this is where this is, you fly here, walk this way, do this. Like, thank God someone else already went and did this. And that's a giant world.
Yeah.
What are the Wailing Caverns? What is that?
It was an instance in the Barrens.
But is it like hard to find like your way around in it or something?
It's confusing once you're in.
Okay, that's what that was the post that I saw. It was like I understood the meme from context.
Wailing Caverns is it's inside the
It's a little cave just southwest of Crossroads.
Yes,
It's like a big skull.
southwest of Crossroads. Yeah,
once you walk in there, it's like, oh, you have to go a very specific way. It's like multiple levels. It's
like a little
nightmare.
18 to 20 or so, right?
Yeah, that's about.
Holden, what are you doing with all your spare time now? You gonna catch up on your backlog of video games finally? That you?
I'm working on my look.
One of the things I'm happiest about with all these changes that are going on is the fact that Matt gets to be a human being.
Yeah,
again. That's nice.
I think we're all really happy about that.
I'm very excited to see Matt.
I gotta remember how
in
to
more
do
stuff.
that. It's been a while.
You're off to a great start.
Yeah, this is just since Tuesday. Like,
Now,
this
Matt,
grew
did the PR
fast.
department, did they approve of this? Was that okay? Did you get 15
about them.
sign-offs on it?
I forgot the PR and the HR and all the other R's.
All the other R's.
Matt, go to the ER later.
So what are you going to be doing with your spare time now, Matt? Now you're not CEOing.
You know, I'm just trying to keep it relaxed, trying to keep it chill. Gonna do my own thing. Gonna, you know, put some stuff together with people. It's gonna be great.
You should have another kid.
Should I?
That's the move.
That's the move,
That
man.
is a good move. We could move. No, I don't know. I think, we're going to make some more studio stuff. It's going to be fun. We're going to make some, I don't know what, movies and TV shows and all kind of crazy stuff.
Speaking of which, hey, your calendar's got to roll over. I want to see what your October date is. It's back there.
But today's September.
Oh.
But technically, this podcast will be out in October, so you have to do it. You have to roll it over.
The best sentence to start with technically.
What's that?
He said the best sentences start with technically.
All your sentences start with technically, Gus? I just like the October photo so much, and I want to see it. Yeah, it's my favorite one. I love that one. It's Gus as the nurse. That's art, my friend. That was on my phone for a long time before the calendar came out.
That was
You gonna be sad when 2019's over? You don't have that calendar?
We need to make another one.
Dude, making that calendar every 10 years. Such a fucking pain in the ass. All I know about making calendars is no matter when you start, you're too late.
We were in the downtown office when we initially wanted to have that calendar.
We shot that one photo on the railroad track for that. What was it for the episode of Red versus Blue?
Yeah.
Was it the PSA about being manly? Was that it?
Yeah, the macho PSA.
Oh, right.
Because Mashable determined that we had a 93% male audience. Back in the day, we were the most
Jokes on them, it was 98.
We were the most male audience on the internet, according to Mashable. Whatever happened to Mashable? What are they doing?
That still exists, right?
They're still serving full page ads and taking over your web browser. Fucking shitty ass website.
Well, don't make jokes. We'll be doing that next week.
I can be upset about that too.
So, how about you though, Burnie? What are you going to be working on? You working on the next Burnie Burns joint? What's that going to be?
Yeah. So, for people who don't read press releases or things like that, this is going to be my last podcast. We've been making changes inside the organization, and I stepped down as chief creative officer. And now that job doesn't really exist anymore. That's been kind of distributed among a lot of different people. Jeff is our executive, senior, ultimate creative director.
What I'm hearing is that I need to be distributing more because it seems like it's just me so far.
No, you got to stick with what you...
we created a lot of Horcruxes for the creative role. You just passed them around everywhere.
And Jordan's looking at this distribution thing.
Jordan Swears is creatively in charge of animation.
Yep.
And Barbara Dunkelman,
creatively in charge of core and comedy.
Correct.
And then Trevor fills that role in Achievement Hunter, and then I guess Omar and those guys. I don't know how they work in Funhouse. I assume they work.
Omar's like the managing of RT West.
They had videos come out today, so they're still around.
They're still plugging away. God bless them.
I watched their Colonel Sanders video. It was very funny.
But I'm gonna get back to what I was doing when I started this whole thing. Was wanted to make narrative shows, and I know a lot of people think of us as primarily personality-driven content because we've been doing that primarily for like the last 10 years, especially the last 10 years I've been on this podcast. But it's not really what we started doing. Even like the first 6-7 years of this company, we didn't do anything but narrative projects. Mm-hmm. And then the personality stuff kind of hit all at once.
So once we bought a camera.
It was that record. Remember we recorded that couch in the back of the Congress office where we'd edit Red versus Blue? That's where we recorded the first podcast. That jammed ass room. It's where the first AWU was. If you want to go back and look at that room,
we did a couple of shorts were in that room as well.
Yep.
The World Cup one.
The first one we put out had a scene in there.
Oh,
right.
Shannon.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I'll be doing. So I'm going to get back and be writing some projects, which means I will not be really appearing in stuff. I won't be on the podcast anymore. There's always this debate too of like, when someone makes a change like this, it's always very easy to say things like, I'll be back and I'm just going to be around. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm definitely not. It's I want to focus on that, and I've tried a couple different times to try to refocus while still maintaining some of my other responsibilities. But the scale at which everything grows is like, it's just those other responsibilities, no matter how much you try to diminish them or distribute them, just being in that mix, it's like the scale just catches up with you and you end up spending the same amount of time.
Well, I think it's going to be great. Because when you have focused time to knock some stuff out, man, you do great work and you make hits. And I think I'm super, just as a fan, I'm excited to see what the next thing you're going to make.
Thanks.
As a hit, I think it's going to be awesome. And, I've seen you, try to juggle all this stuff for the last, decade, 17 years, whatever it is. And you've done a great job kind of trying to manage both, but I can't wait to see the next Red versus Blue or Immersion or another movie or what have you. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm excited about that as a fan. I really am.
And we're all, I think, really excited about getting cast in it. Thank you in advance.
I think so. You're excited about not being on camera with me anymore.
No, I love being on camera with you guys. That's my biggest lament of the success of Rooster Teeth is just like it required us to kind of run off and run different parts of the company, and we didn't get to do this stuff as much. In the later years.
Yeah, you mean just from the natural scale of it, but then people would be sick of us anyway. I mean, that's the thing too. It's like
people are sick of us. They tell us all the time.
Yeah, I read the comments, but I look at just the way there's personality-driven content and there's like narrative-driven content, and we've got like we're kind of living in two worlds with a bunch of different people. And a lot of people are trying to live in two worlds, and it's just like ne'er the two shall meet. Honestly,
right.
And we got to recognize there's two different audiences, and the structure of the company now. I think it's been kind of put out there in official press releases and stuff like that, but it's RT Direct, which Jeff, you'll be over essentially all of RT Direct.
Yeah.
And then RT Studios is where I'll be working in a non-management capacity. Can't be,
non-talent, non-management.
can't be any clearer about that. Non-management capacity, working at RT Studios, and then Matt will be over all of RT Studios. And like that'll be things that we make that, the direct audience quite frankly, is not really interested in, or it says they're not interested in.
Well, and stuff like we should be just totally upfront that is probably not destined for our platform.
Probably not.
Yeah.
And I think that's that's a good thing. Like we want to make sure that we have as much great content on our site as we possibly can, and doing what we do. And I think Jeff's going to do a fantastic job of that. But there's also like a lot of other things that we want to do that sometimes aren't right, don't quite fit, and we have to find partners and we have to find other ways to get them made.
Got to find money.
Yeah.
Have you
all
looked
those
at the couch
things,
cushions there?
Oh boy.
Let's
see if there's anything left in here besides
might be a scorpion
spliff
in there.
Well, but yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, like, but the key is just we all got to be focused about what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you think back to when we started Rooster Teeth, it really was the coming together of two groups of friends, right? The guys that made movies together and the idiots on the internet.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we are now. You guys are doing going to be focusing on the bigger projects.
I would say bigger, but sure.
Well,
yeah.
I think grander in scale than a Let's Play,
Yeah, but it's a frequency thing too.
Right.
Like if you add up like, Minecraft, and you guys do it every single week or GTA or whatever, it's like you do hours and hours of content
about
all the time.
12 hours of edited content a week is what Achievement Hunter does.
A 90-minute movie every 2 years is like, Anyway, I was gonna say, it's just I don't know whether bigger is the right word, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure, different.
Different, yeah.
Narrative versus non-narrative, I guess.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think that's the big line of demarcation, really. And it's like, and I think hopefully the people, the audience who like definitely wants us to keep doing the daily content and the direct content that they like so much. Hopefully they're going to see this as a huge positive. It's like, yeah, you're going to lose a couple people from that daily content, like me. Sorry, you're going to miss me so much. But it's important to focus on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So people won't be getting pulled away, in their opinions, getting pulled away and distracted by these other projects. There'll still be some of that, but hopefully they'll understand that's like this is a focusing on what's working. So it's basically two different sides of the company. And when we were doing all the reorg stuff, it's like basically everyone had to be asked like, what's your strength and what do you do? And for me in particular, I had to be objective. It's like there's things I like doing, and there's things I'm good at, which sometimes those two things don't exactly overlap, perfectly as much as you'd like. But if I looked at the last year, or 5 years that I've looked back, the thing I've done really well in this company is I've made shows that can find a life on another platform as well. It's like RVB went to Netflix, went to TV, Laser Team and Laser Team 2 were paid for by Google and went on Google. $1 Million Butt went to Facebook for a while. $1 Million Butt the card game did retail, and then Immersion was picked up by Discovery. So it's like those are the things, like that's what I've been doing the last 5 years, amongst all these other things. But that's where I've been making the biggest impact. So it just makes sense that I would lean more into that, and do that kind of stuff. And I like it. I like that. I like doing that stuff.
Well, that's the thing, is at the end of the day, you've got to be creatively challenged, right?
Yes.
We really do. And it's like there's nothing worse as a creator or a creative person than to get into a rut,
Treadmill. That's what I heard recently, treadmill. And I get it, because like that's a good analogy to me, because a treadmill, you can do a ton of work on a treadmill and you get off and you're in the exact same place.
Yeah.
And that's how you can feel that way when you do anything long enough. In 10 years, 10 years is a long time to do a podcast. It's a long time. How many episodes are we on?
11. I think this is 564.
Yeah, 564.
Yeah, like Eric's been here for 10 episodes, and already he's just burned out.
we have people were asking in chat if we're going to still keep doing Gavin or Google after you leave.
Sure. I mean, yeah, do it. Knock it out.
I wasn't asking for your permission. I told him, yeah, we were. I don't know why I need you to say yes. We have a bunch of games and other segments that we worked on that we want to do.
I will say, Gus, I'm no longer on topic very often. I would love to be on this every once in a while.
You want to play Gavin or Google?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Will you be on this? Will you show up more on this show? I would love to have you on this podcast.
All you guys have to do is ask me.
Just run that through me, Eric.
Okay.
I don't know that I can commit to being on it every week, but I can commit to being on it as much, if not more, than off topipic.
Eric, I'm sitting right fucking here, dude.
Man, you're gone.
At least for a minute.
I'm looking at taillights, brother. You're gone.
Dude, holy shit. It's like, girlfriend leaves and you're on Tinder while she's walking out the fucking door.
What are you supposed to do? You wait for her to walk all the way out the door? Or what?
Fuck you. Go watch wrestling, motherfucker.
This episode of Rooster Teeth Podcast is brought to you by Magic the Gathering. Their new card set, Throne of Eldraine, is out now. They asked us to write our own take on some of these fairy tales, and we're going to read those for you right now. We have not read this yet.
Not yet.
Let's get started. Narrator.
Go, narrator.
Much better narrator.
Once upon a time at the edge of a dark forest.
Do we want to read the title?
Oh, do we need that? Here we go. Sunnylocks and the Three Bears.
Very interesting.
Written by Andrew Rosas. Once upon a time at the edge of a dark forest, there live a... Can I just take it from there?
I did the exact same thing.
Mess the first word up.
Keep going.
There lived a quiet young girl, Sunnylocks. Because of the horrors she'd seen in battle, she took to wandering the forest to clear her head and quiet the screams of her family that died in the great porridge wars of the previous winter.
Wow.
The woods. Everything in nature in balance.
The girl was a hunter. Her family's old cottage, which was once bubbling with life and happiness, was now festooned with her animal trophies in what looked like a grim shrine to death itself.
Nice.
Oh my God.
One morning she ran farther into the woods than she's... One morning... It's harder than it looks. One morning she ran farther into the woods than she'd ever had before. Out of breath, she collapsed in a mosey patch near a rivulet. Rivulet?
Keep going.
Her heartbeat pounded a sharp ringing in her ears, which subsided after a moment and gave way to the calming sounds of water. But something was amiss.
There are no birds or a stir of wind.
As she sharpened her senses to the verdant cathedral surrounding her, another sound cut in the din of the rivulet lay. A distant familiar sound out of the corners of her memory. Laughter. But not the laughter of people. It was the primal, guttural laughter. It was a primal, guttural laughter.
Oh, God.
One from... Don't laugh at me. One from deep in time, when the new gods stood on the bones of the old and reveled in their victory.
I'm imagining Andrew's listening to this going, Rivulet! Rivulet!
As the sound of laughter became more present and lost the eerie reverberations of the cavernous forest, she saw a stone house.
No one has lived in these woods for hundreds of years.
She thought to herself and crept up to a window of the dwelling.
Ha ha ha! What is better than the flesh of peasants?
More Papa!
Of course, little one.
Sunnylocks unsheathed her sword and delicately used the reflection in the blade to see inside the crumbling structure. Her breath turned cold as the figures in the window... in the weapon, not window. In the weapon became clear. Bears. A family of bears sat around a snow-bitten oak table, feasting on the viscera of what used to be a man. The littlest bear began to thrash at the mangled shin of their fresh kill.
Here, let me help you.
The largest bear began stripping the flesh off the bone and macerating the meat in a wooden bowl. The sopping wet innards turned to a thick porridge that wafted the smell of iron out the window and stung Sunnylocks' nostrils. Her eyes glassed, and she remembered the sanguine terror of the previous winter. She instinctively touched the dagger in her boot, but this one...
Yes.
But his was too small.
But this one was too small.
Sorry, this one was too small. She admired the broadsword in her hand.
Yeah, a lot more reading.
Sorry. She admired the broadsword in her hand, but in the confines of the house would be too unwieldy, too big. Her frost-chapped hand then drifted down to the battle axe fastened to her right side. This one was just right. From her fire-starting pouch, she drew a sack of black powder, and with a flick of her wrist, she sent it through the window into the dim hearth in the center of the room. The stone cottage filled with light, and the smoke-shocked roars of the unseen creatures. Cool. Sunnylocks stood at the wall of the front door and lifted the axe above her head.
Follow me! Run into the forest!
The largest bear's head had just cleared the threshold when Sunnylocks brought down her axe with devastating force. The blade cleaved a trench of fat and blood, matted hair behind the bear's ears as it dripped in the doorway with a disgusting thud.
Father!
The bear's massive body now blocked the only exit as the mother and cub tore at his backside in their frenzied escape. Sunnylocks then crept into a tiny window that just afforded her lithe frame.
What do we do, Mother? Stay behind me. We are under attack.
Out of the smoke, Sunnylocks' broadsword appeared in the air like a javelin. It glinted in the faint light of the bear's providence outside before slicing deep into the shoulder of the mother bear. Sunnylocks' silhouette materialized in the haze as the mother bear reared up on her hind legs, poised to bring down a nightmarish end to the girl.
Die, Hunter!
Sunnylocks fell backwards onto a hard bed as the mother's bear's mask came down on top of her. With her dagger braced at her side, the sheer weight of the animal drove the blade deep into its core. The final labored breath of the beast swirled a clearing in the smoke for a moment and then faded away with the light in its eyes. Sunnylocks rose to her feet. The beast's blood was streaming down her body as she felt warm for the first time since venturing into these woods.
Please, just let me go!
Sunnylocks wiped the handle of her axe on the mother bear's fur before returning it to its purchase in her right hand. The floor creaked as she stepped toward the cub huddled in the corner.
Oh my god.
This is wrong.
So we need to call Andrew.
It was dark when Sunnylocks returned to her home. She lit a humble fire in the stone circle in the center of the dwelling and mounted the 3 bear heads to the wall near the dinner table. As she sat in the soft glow and ate her supper, even the fresh pelts draped on her shoulders didn't warm her. She looked across the table into the glass black eyes of her new trophies and sighed. She thought about the next morning and going deeper into the woods. After all, she was a hunter.
The end.
Wow.
Throne of Eldraine is the brand new Magic the Gathering card set that mashes together Camelot and Grimm's Fairy Tales. You can play now with cards like these right now at Magic Arena. Download it for free on PC today at mtgarena.com. That was intense.
Did he put the script through a
Violence bot?
a thesaurus or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, can confirm.
It was good. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Did you see the big thing that's going around about Jeff, you did a really
awesome,
cool talk on Off Topic, like right after we did the layoffs.
I don't think it was a cool talk at all.
Nah, it was a very necessary talk, it felt like, and I appreciated that you did it.
Oh yeah.
Of course, the audience portion of the audience. I would warn you that at a place where I am right now is I don't like to emotionally engage with people that I don't know and that I'm not going to meet. And there is that portion of the audience. It's like, okay, Jeff has said something. Why? Who's going to say something next? Like, this is not. They're like in the rhythm now of like.
Yeah.
Then now the next person has to emotionally engage and do that kind of thing. And this wrestler, Eric, who is this wrestler? Al Show. What is his?
His name is Al Snow.
Al Snow.
That was fascinating.
That was fascinating.
He's a former WWF guy. He's an independent worker and he's a trainer. Smart guy. Good mind.
Yeah, he did a whole talk about.
Was that the video that was going around over the weekend?
Yeah, it's toxic fandoms, but at the same time, it's like even that word is like that's just the word we're using now. We talked about this stuff for I feel like a decade. Even when it wasn't involving us, I talk about mob mentality and how mob mentality is just like such a scary thing. Even when what I said to Matt was even with someone I don't like. Or someone I've dealt with before, and it's like, I don't like them. When I watch the mob get hold of them, I said it feels like being in a zombie movie where it's like the enemy gets attacked by zombies, and you're still like, ooh, I don't like that. It's like they're still a human, and it's like there's something about that mob mentality when people just get going and they start to hammer on people, you know, and it's just you wonder when it's going to be enough.
I thought it was like such a brilliant distillation of that issue. He broke it down in very clear terms. I wonder if it feels that way because I'm on one side of that. Or one side of that situation. I wonder if as a content creator, I look at it and I go, well, that's really a salient way to put that together.
Well, what did he say? Just for people who haven't seen it, just if you.
Oh God,
paraphrasing
he
here.
said that. He said that there's consistency breeds contempt.
He said, yeah,
familiarity
breeds contempt.
And he said that information is not knowledge.
Correct.
Information and experience create knowledge.
Having opinion is the lowest form of thought. Was that
having an opinion is the lowest form of thought or discourse or whatever. And he just talked about how people
have
access to information and then assume that the information they have
is
knowledge. And it's like, but they don't have the experience to understand why things are done the way they are. And a lot of people, because a lot of people want to defend their ability to make those kinds of comments. I saw a lot of people commenting on saying, well, he's saying I have to be a wrestler in order to criticize wrestling. I don't have to be a chef to say I don't like something, you know, that I don't like the way something tastes. I don't think that's what he's saying. No, he's saying you have to have some kind of experience. There's a lot of people who have information and have not just no experience in wrestling, they just don't have experience. They just they have none. All they have is the information. And we've dealt with stuff like this before where people tell us, you're basing your decisions on unsubstantiated claims online and information. And you're doing this and you're doing that. It's like, no, we're not. We have personal experience that we use to make our decisions. We have personal, multiple years of experience that we use to do it. And they're saying, no, these accounts, like, look at this account. This was unsubstantiated and this other thing. It's like, that's not us. That's you. That's literally you. You're the person who doesn't have anything but the accounts they read online because you have no personal experience. And then you're telling us, people with personal experience, that we don't have that and that we're basing our decisions on something else. It's crazy to me. It's just absolutely crazy.
The thing that was really interesting about it, too, is his tone. Because you could tell that he had this resigned kind of look to him. Like, I've had this argument so many times in so many different ways with people on this subject, and I'm just not having it anymore. I've analyzed it. I've been through the whole thing, and I know what they're going to say before they say it because they always say the same thing. Because it's I want to be right and tear stuff down kind of mentality, not a constructive kind of mentality. And it felt very much like he was still upset about it, but also had figured out there's no point in arguing with this group of people anymore.
I thought it was really, really well thought out.
Yeah,
it really was.
Very concise and very well thought out.
He did say one thing at the end, too, that I think a lot of people gloss over.
Yeah.
What the thing at the end was he said that, you know, he was talking a lot about toxic fandom, but then he talked about the impact of the people that he works with in dealing with that. That was what he came around at the end. He said, and there's people that I work with, writers and managers and talent, who live in their own bubble where this is their whole world and all they do is read this stuff and they make decisions based on that.
Right.
You know, and that is the thing. And that's the kind of thing I think, like, when you're a creator or work in a group like we have, you got to be careful that you're not making decisions based on that stuff. You just can't do it.
It's really hard. You got to follow kind of your own true north, you know.
And those voices get louder as you do that. They definitely get louder as you could try to stay the course in your own way or what you think is the best course at that time.
That's right.
But yeah, otherwise you just dart back and forth, right? You know, to people's public opinion when they don't really have the full picture of what's going on.
Yeah.
Or as Jeff said, I think something like I was listening to your talk that you had, and because you didn't tell anybody you were going to do that.
I told Matt,
and I
asked Matt what his opinion was because it was like, I mean, basically what I was talking about. I had to go out and we had to give a production like a day after we went through that riff, and that was it was such a catastrophic event for all of us, and how just like the decision-making process of, I was just talking about that, like we're kind of damned if we do, damned if we don't, like what do we do, what's the best course of action? I asked Matt, and we talked about it a little bit, and then he was like, I trust you, you'll make the right decision, and I said, I'll figure it out, and then I figured it out in the car on the way to work that day.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of times you get into one of those things and you just feel it in the moment.
Yeah.
You know, you know it's right. And you know, I don't know, one of the things I said to people here is like, you know, it's so much easier to be cynical than it is to create, you know? And we could spend a lot of time just in any not just us, but like in any walk of life, just being so caught up in the cynicism. But that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't inspire anybody, and that doesn't make anybody get up and go do what they need to do, and face the day. And you gotta find what's real and what's true about your own art and your own experience for you.
Do you think that the a cynical mentality is a function of age? Because I feel like when I was younger, I was way more cynical.
Sure.
I'm less cynical now, but there's a stereotype that when you're old, you're super cynical. So is it like an inverted bell curve of some kind?
I think it's like
Maybe
taste
so.
buds.
You're super old.
It's
Let us know.
interesting.
Yeah, well, it's a big part of my decision when I was facing the decision of what do I want to do. I was gonna say it's like taste buds. As a kid, when you eat something and you're like, oh my god, this is over the top, like mustard or something, but then later in life it doesn't seem as bad. It's because your taste buds are wearing down.
Yeah,
and you're just getting kind of numb to it. To be honest with you, the situation that I ran into that I was really concerned about, and me making a change of not doing the podcast and being less on camera, is something that's been. Gus, how long have I been talking to you about this?
What is it, like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
Like I even said at the
Maybe
beginning of 2019, I said to Gus, I'm going to get as far into 2019 as I can. And it was going to be the 500th podcast. It was then going to be the 10-year podcast, which was in May. Like we kept talking about all that stuff.
I didn't believe you. I never believed you. You've been talking about it so long. I was like, it's just never going to happen.
Well, it was also, I also had this rule where it's like, I want to try to get away like 2 months out from any social media crisis. I want to get 2 months away from that so it doesn't seem like it's in reaction to anything. And it's just like,
But you can't because
that's not going to
always
happen
something.
at this point. That being said, it's like we've had some stuff this year that's like, I don't want to like lump into like social media crisis. We've had some real serious issues this year that were unlike anything we've had in the past. But I've been talking for a long time. What really kind of led me to this path was, and this more so came about during the vlog, was I used to read all the comments voraciously and try to cherry pick like what was the valuable information, what was my takeaway.
I still do.
Yeah, I'd still do that stuff. And then I had to tell myself, well, just ignore the negative stuff, which is what people will say. Oh, it's only like 10% of the people or whatever. It's a very small minority. So just ignore them, just ignore those people. And so then you start to do that. And then I got into a position where it's like, if the bad comments don't matter, why did the good comments matter?
Right.
And then,
and
then if those two things, if it just doesn't matter, then why am I sitting in this chair?
Yeah,
like,
what are you
why
getting
am I,
out of it?
Yeah, what am I? It's like an audience deserves to have somebody in this chair who cares about the comments one way or the other. They really do. And I think, Jeff, you're definitely in a place where you're very locked in. You have your finger on the pulse. You understand what people on the internet want. So I think it's like perfect move.
Yeah, thank you. I do. I feel like I'm hitting some sort of a stride at this point in my life, and maybe it's getting sober or reclaiming some energy or what. But I feel like I'm like firing on all cylinders this last 2 years.
Yeah,
and I'm gung ho to take on the next challenge, and to keep doing the next thing.
It's funny because I keep saying there's no senior circuit for web influencers, I keep saying that about
not yet.
I keep saying that about myself, but I don't apply that to you guys because I feel like you guys are like in a different place now, even though we're kind of similar in age.
Every year we get closer.
Pin that on you, but
2 years older than me.
But it's like just how I consider myself, and one of the things that kept coming up during the vlog was this comment of relatability that like I wasn't relatable, and at first I was like, oh shit. I'm not, these things aren't relatable. I either had to like dumb down what I'm doing in the vlog or like hide some stuff and obfuscate some of the things I was doing. But then after a while, I was like, should I be relatable? I've had 2 careers at this point. I'm 40. When am I 40? 46? When am I? 46. Yeah. 46 years old. It's like maybe relatable isn't like, maybe that's not a thing I should strive for, is relatability, and maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a normal progression to not be relatable.
I mean, it's totally acceptable. And I've said this before on the podcast. We are all in our 40s. 46, 44, 45.
You have to keep 42. Saying 46.
41.
What does it care?
41.
As previously mentioned, your age. Just say that.
41.
But we're closer to our audience. We're closer in age to a lot of our audience's parents than to the audience. And that is what it is.
Right.
Like a lot of people have, I'll get on and I'll do those talks like I did on Off Topic about other stuff, dick pills or whatever. And people are like, some people will constantly say like, Jeff's talking down to me like he's a parent. He's not my dad. But first off, when Rooster Teeth started, everybody wanted to be people would show up and be like, oh, I just want to buy you a drink. I want to be your friends. Now that we're where we are, people come up and they're like, oh, you seem like a really cool dad. I wish you were my dad. Like, people want me to be their dad now. And I do feel parental.
You don't have to
toward the
call me out
audience.
like that. I'm sitting right here.
Hand me one of those. Can we have these, by the way? Because every time we drink these Voodoo Rangers, we get in trouble. Can we do this?
I do feel kind of parental to the audience, and I'm okay with that. You know, I got a kid who is the age of Rooster Teeth fans. And
do you guys have this experience now with your kids at school that they hear the other kids talking about Rooster Teeth and then they like try to avoid the conversation?
Yes, Millie does not like it when people talk about her.
People know who she is because she's been on a lot. Like my kids, nobody knows who they are, and we all prefer to keep it that way.
Yeah.
And but then they're at school, and one of their friends will be talking to them about like Rooster Teeth and this and that, and like they shouldn't have done this and they should have done this and and they just have to sit there and kind of grin and bear it.
Yeah.
You know, which is like, I feel bad because that's a bad position for them to have to be in. Like nobody wants to have to deal with that, and I don't want them to feel like they have to defend me.
Yeah.
At school, it should be the other way around, you know?
Imagine George Lucas' kids. George Lucas have kids? That would be fucking insane. It's such
if his kids went to school and all the other kids were complaining about midichlorians.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, that would just be ridiculous.
Elon Musk kids. Every time I've seen Elon Musk tweet, just click on it and read the comments. It's crazy. It talks about, here's a spaceship that I'm designing to hopefully send humanity to Mars and give us a multi-planet existence so we can preserve human consciousness. And like 2 or 3 tweets, the top 2 or 3 ones are like, your fucking stock's gonna tank. And it's like, what are you, why? Just don't, what's the point? Or you called that guy a pedophile 2 years ago. Or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fucked up thing to do.
But it's like, how does that relate 2 years later to the Mars thing? You know, it's just like, it never goes away. Is what I'm saying. That kind of stuff never goes away. That's why you're supposed to delete your tweets.
When I was a kid, the closest thing I had to that, where it's like I was trying to avoid some shit my parents were responsible for when I was in school, was my father was in law enforcement, and he once ticketed and arrested our vice principal at middle school.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
I was like, I just don't want to have to deal with this. And it was a small town, so like everybody knew. I was just like, I'm just gonna keep my head down. The vice principal had a kid who was my age and my grade at the same school. I was like, I just don't want to be here.
And it's like, Jeff, you were saying before this, it's like our kids they're the only kids in the world that think Rooster Teeth is uncool.
I was saying that, like Millie, gave her the option of going home to do her homework or doing it here, and she's like, home, before I could get it out. She's like, Millie wants nothing less than to hang out at Rooster Teeth. And I was saying that for our kids, they're probably the only kids on earth that Rooster Teeth is the most boring place.
Well, it's because it's your parents.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah.
You don't want to hear about your parents in any regard at school. It's like you just don't want your parents to be notable.
I don't envy them at all. I can't imagine what that's like. When I was a kid, I didn't even have like what your experience. I had no idea what my mom and dad did for a living. You know, I knew my mom worked in banks. She did something with banks. But I didn't give a fuck. You know,
my parents were teachers at my high school. That was tough.
Yeah, and so those worlds never intersected.
Yeah,
for me.
My dad was a well-liked teacher, and my mom didn't have. She taught English as a second language, so not a lot of the kids in my group, you know, had the opportunity to have my mom as a teacher.
Yeah. My mom was a teacher, and we purposely avoided me going to the same school. That's what she was teaching.
I was in my dad's class.
You guys all had parents.
Yeah, my mom was a teacher, but she always she was always teaching in schools where my sister was. My sister was 4 years younger. So it's like when I was in middle school, she was teaching elementary where my sister was. Then I moved to high school. My mother moved to middle school.
How is Lady Einstein doing? Your sister, I mean.
What's fine. They call her Lady Einstein.
She's awesome.
I feel like that was a sarcastic nickname. No. I get the feeling.
I like us, sister.
She's great. She's fine.
No, but it's a real thing. I honestly don't even like talking about it, just because I don't want to like speak on the kid's behalf in any way. You know what I mean? It's like one of those weird things. Like even mentioning. I know one thing I've always been happy about is that Teddy loves this podcast. He was going to come here today because he didn't want me to do the last one, but it's his mom's birthday today, so he's got to do some stuff with her. He loves being in the RTAs, which I've always been very appreciative of, because like sometimes the story is tell him about her silly and call him a little fucker and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's always loved that and loves being part of the RTAs.
Well, Teddy, if you want to take over your dad's seat, just email me.
I don't know, Ted. I don't know if you guys can handle that. That'd be crazy. Teddy's thing I'm pushing him towards now is he's big into League of Legends, and I'm just like, dude, you live in a house where one of the rare houses in the world, getting less rare, where if you want to go into esports and train to do this, I will figure out a way to help you do this. Like, I see this as a very viable career. Matt knows. He's like playing with his kid online all the time.
That's child labor.
It is a little bit child labor.
No, they are. Every night, go up there and they're playing League of Legends.
League is still big,
crazy.
huh? It's still gaining
I don't know how he got into it.
I always figured like as that being a game with a declining population.
I thought it was too.
No, every game should eventually decline to nothing. Right?
Yeah, but League and Dota, I feel like are just as big as ever, and there's just worlds that I don't ever intersect in. Like, we don't do.
Did I ever play? I don't think I've ever played a single game of League. I think I played Dota once or twice.
I've never played Dota. I've done like 2 Let's Plays.
I even asked Teddy about Dota since he's playing League of Legends. I thought, how'd you reach this conclusion to play this game? Did you play Dota? He goes, I would play Dota. Like, he already had like this like strong line in the sand of just like, nah, it's all League, man.
Gross.
He was playing Siege for a long time, was really good at it. And I was trying to convince him to do that. But
yeah, what happened there? They were all into that for a long time, and then they made a hard switch to League.
I'm gonna take Teddy to the finals we're gonna watch the League finals, which are in early November.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, the
That's
World
awesome.
Finals. Because I just want to get them excited about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had to say that kids have to rebel against their parents too. Like, we had a similar thing where Millie was so into Overwatch and was really quite good. And I remember I talked to her and I was like, is this something you want to pursue? Is this a career you want to pursue? I could get you a trainer. And the second I did that, she stopped playing. She was like,
Yeah. I think the
like,
worst
all right,
thing
I'll
about
back
kids'
off.
life is that I know all the memes.
Yeah.
You know, that's to them is like so fucking disappointing on a regular basis.
They have no secret conversation, no language they can use.
Or just, it's just like, parents aren't cool.
You should just use old memes around them, like invisible sandwich and like all
Bad
the
Luck Brian,
original
Dancing baby.
Yeah. Send those to them all the time.
What were they called? The
Fucking
animals?
20-year-old memes.
Emotion animals, what were they called?
Lolcats?
No, they had a name for
Emotion
them. Before they were
animals.
memes. They were called something.
Lolcats.
No, but they had like Business Cat and everything. It wasn't
Lolcats.
Listen to me. On like in the days of like
Let me talk
Dig and everything.
emotional animals.
What's it called? Somebody's got to
Are you
know.
saying
this.
advice animals?
Advice animals. That's it.
Oh,
Advice animals. That's what they were called. Fuck you. And Rage Comics.
lolcats.
Yeah, lolcats. We're called lolcats and dancing babies.
Oh, so Eric just sent me some stuff. The League of Legends World Championship prize pool this past year was about $6.4 million.
Whoa.
The Dota 2 international prize pool is $34 million.
Yeah.
Whoa.
For a game that I don't know that I've ever seen Dota. Like, I know the name. I can't think of the logo. I don't know that I've ever seen the actual game.
It's like the OG though, right? It was a community thing. Yeah. It was a community thing that came out of Warcraft and then was bought by Valve.
Yes.
And turned into a separate game. That's kind of a fascinating path.
I believe it was a branch off of Warcraft 3, I want to say.
Which is fascinating to me because it's like, that's a miss by Blizzard, right?
Which probably wasn't something they were into at the time. Yeah, and you're right. Eventually later they tried to do
Heroes
of the Storm.
Yeah.
Which I think they sunsetted.
Did they? I played it. It was fun. I
fun.
liked
Dota.
Heroes of the Storm.
That's the MOBA I played the most, was Heroes of the
I just
Storm.
listen. Microsoft had Griffball.
I think I probably played Smite the most.
They let somebody else make Rocket League, and they had Griffball sitting right there, man. They had it. Microsoft.
They had it in their hands.
I hope Microsoft will be okay. I hope they're gonna make
You
it.
blow it.
So yeah, they're slowing down Heroes of the Storm development. They said they're shutting down the Global Championship 2019 esports season, and they're just scaling it down. So it seems like they're refocusing on other things that are working better.
But Teddy was like playing Counter-Strike for a while, which is like, dude, and that's apparently a whole still massive
CS:GO?
community behind that. We showed that.
CS:GO?
Yeah, that's that graph of usage, and it was CS:GO was right at the top behind something until PUBG showed up.
Oh,
and then PUBG took over everything.
Yeah.
By the way, going back to the discussion about like creative ideas or whatever, I had to point out to the guys of like who they were like, oh, can we do anything about this? It's like, can we do anything about it? Did you not see when Fortnite just basically they made an announcement video that said, hey, we really like PUBG a lot, so we're gonna make our own battle royale genre game, and then they made it and made what, hundreds of billions of dollars?
They changed a game that had just come out and they added it. Right.
Yep, they added the mode because it's a mode. It's like mode is like genre.
It's not Fortnite. It's Fortnite Battle Royale.
Right. It's a mode, right? Yeah. So it's like once because you can't do that. It's like if you can't copyright an idea. That's the what they always say. It's all about the execution. If the execution's too similar, then you can say yeah. But the idea, they can just take it.
What was the game that PUBG iterated on?
King of the Kill.
Yeah, King of the Kill. What was that? What's that game?
Same team though.
It's not.
It was the same team.
It was the same guy.
Yeah.
It was Player Unknown. He just took it and made it somewhere else. But that other game, and then they tried to rebound for a while. We did some Let's Plays on it. I can't think of that. It's King of the Kill, but
H1Z1?
H1Z1. Thank you.
Yep.
H1Z1.
Yeah.
I had Arma stuck in
Well,
my head.
at the end of the day,
Yeah,
too,
I was also thinking
they're all
Jay-Z.
called Battle Royale for a reason.
Yeah.
They're inspired by
Battle Royale.
Battle Royale. Freddie Wong pointed out, it's like, who would have thought that that movie would be one of the most influential films of our generation?
Yeah, no kidding.
And it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. The influence that that movie has had.
It had a long incubation, too. It was like a huge cult hit. Everyone knew about it. And then, like, just all of a sudden, it's like, oh, let's make Battle Royale games. Let's make that a thing.
You know, I watched it for the first time like 6 months ago.
No way. I showed you that fucking movie when we lived
We
together.
never watched it together.
We absolutely
We watched
did.
a lot of movies
We fucking
together. We
rented it at
never
Vulcan
watched
Video.
Battle Royale
I fucking
together.
showed you the DVD of Battle Royale.
You may have shown me the cover of it. We never watched it
You're
together.
breaking his
Guarantee we
heart.
did.
You are brave. This is.
I watched
held
a lot.
hands.
I watched a lot of stuff with you, but we never watched
We
Battle Royale.
cried.
I'd never seen that. I've still never seen Ichi the Killer. That's another one in there.
You ever seen that? What's the Korean movie with the sewer monster? Is that
The
one?
Host?
The host.
Yeah, the host.
Never
good.
seen The Host.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Was that-
renamed the Alamo South Lamar
I was just about to say that.
Bong Joon-ho Theater after
Yeah.
the guy who
What's that,
directed
what's
The
that
Host.
movie about?
Host?
The new one.
The new one's supposed to be really
Parasite?
good.
Is that what it's
Parasite.
called?
The
I couldn't
trailer,
figure out that trailer
The
at
trailer is
all.
very vague, and what I've heard is don't try to figure out what the movie's about. Go in with as little
I've
information
heard that
as you can.
about.
I feel like the opening with the what am I trying to say? The smoke when they're getting rid of all the bugs or whatever.
The fumigating?
The fumigating. Thank
420?
you. It's got something to 420. It's got something to do with what the movie is about. But that was a confusing ass trailer.
I'm excited to see it. It comes out October 11th.
I don't watch trailers anymore.
I just saw two today.
If you're in a theater, you see them though.
Yeah.
He closes his
I
eyes.
don't go to a lot.
I don't watch them
He goes to the
online.
bathroom.
Yeah.
I watched. Have you guys seen the trailer for The King's Man? I didn't even know they were making that. It's not a
Oh,
poster
yeah.
for it. It's a prequel.
Yeah.
It looked good.
Make a new
Cool.
Matrix movie.
Yeah.
Excuse
Did
me?
you see that? Yeah,
No.
they're
Making a new
Carrie,
Mat-
they specifically didn't say Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah.
It's Carrie-Anne Moss and Keanu Reeves are making a new Matrix movie.
Oh.
Yep.
You know, I almost worked on the Matrix.
Yeah, I do.
That
Yeah.
was well, I had a boss when I did visual effects who turned down 2 jobs for us that I still can't get over. One was the Matrix, but it was before Will Smith. It was when it was Will Smith instead of Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
And the other one was Lord of the Rings. And the reason he turned down both of them was, I don't want to go all that way.
Yeah.
That's way on the others. That's like they're going to do that in Australia or somewhere. That's a long way to go.
This episode of the Rooster Teeth Podcast is also brought to you by Dave. I want to talk about something annoying, something that hits you and you feel so dumb when it does. And I'm talking about overdraft fees. How often do you pay attention to your bank account balance? The moment you see that you're going to be overdrawn, it's too late to do anything about it. So you end up spending $37 on a cup of coffee thanks to bank fees. So introducing the Dave app. It's putting an end to overdraft fees for good. Dave is the #1 budgeting app in America because it saves you from overdraft fees, tells you about upcoming bills, and can advance you $75 from your next paycheck with no credit check and no interest. You can get the Dave app for just $1 per month. That's $12 a year, which is way less than an overdraft fee, and you'll never have to pay one of those ever again. Dave will help you budget for upcoming expenses, text you if you're spending too much, and if you need cash fast, it can advance you $75 in just 90 seconds. Mark Cuban's an investor in Dave because he got crushed by overdraft fees in his 20s and wants you to never pay an overdraft fee ever again. Like there's something that could help everyone out there with those annoying bank fees. The times I wish I would have had that when I was younger, it would have been great. Go to dave.com/rooster. It really helps the show if you let them know that you heard them here. Then download Dave. Never pay another overdraft fee again. It's immediate savings, so go now to dave.com/rooster. Spelled just like it sounds, DAVE, dave.com/rooster. Thank you, Dave, for sponsoring this episode of the Rooster Teeth Podcast.
Listen, I mean,
Fair enough.
it's a fair reason to not want to do it.
Not when you're 22.
I know.
What were you going to say about Battle Royale?
But he wasn't.
True.
You said you just watched it for the first time 6 months
Oh,
ago?
it was
Jeff and I
good.
watched it
liked
together like 10 years ago.
We held hands. I just enjoyed it. I haven't seen the sequel. There was a sequel too, right?
I never saw it.
Yeah. Did you see the trailer? I know Burnie wouldn't have because he doesn't watch trailers, but did you see the trailer for El Camino?
Yes.
It's out like in any day, right? It's coming out soon.
October
I haven't
or
seen the
something?
trailer.
The next week or the week after. Yeah. I thought
When's Joker coming out?
It's out
this week.
like this week.
Is it
I
out?
think. Yeah.
About Friday.
We're all paranoid about that.
And the
Worried about incel violence. for
King's
Joker.
Man audience is a prequel to the Kingsman.
Yeah, it's got not Eggsy. It's got a Paladin. What's that?
Yeah,
Ray
Ray
Fiennes?
Fiennes is in it.
Huh.
He's like he,
is Snape? No, he wasn't Snape.
no,
Who
he
was
played,
he in?
he played Dumbledore.
Dumbledore. Thank you.
Voldemort.
Voldemort. Thank you. It's in Britain.
One of those names.
That's
He
all
had
the
that
same.
part in Schindler's List, which is still one of the scariest
Jesus.
roles I've ever seen.
He won an Academy Award for that, right?
I want to say yeah.
I believe he did.
There's that mirror scene that he's got in that movie,
Yep.
which
Where
is
he
one of the
stares at
most
himself.
terrifying things ever. Just like he's just he plays a psychotic so well.
That was adorable.
What was that sci-fi movie he was in that was so good?
Dude, I love
Gattaca?
No,
I love
Ray
when, like,
Fiennes? No.
big names are in,
Gattaca's
like
good.
low budget sci-fi. I love that. Like Denzel Washington does a bunch of like random like low budget sci-fi. You can even count like his Book of Eli in that. I just watched Looper the other day with Bruce Willis. It's just like I love that stuff.
Who's your actor or actress that if you see them in a movie, it doesn't matter what it is, you'll watch?
Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron?
Yep.
Ray Fiennes was nominated, but did not win that Academy
Oh, what a
Award.
bummer. That's a ripoff.
For me, it's Denzel Washington. Like I know that if any Denzel Washington movie is going to have, it's going to be of a level of quality that I can enjoy, and just getting to watch Denzel Washington is a treat.
And if I'm being totally honest, Tom Cruise. I'll go watch Tom Cruise in anything.
He doesn't make bad movies.
He does not make bad movies.
As long as Tom Cruise is running, you know you're set.
Yeah. That Live, Die, Repeat. That's like a good example of.
That's a fantastic movie.
It's such a fantastic movie, and it's the Swingers guy did that.
Yeah.
yeah.
Lyman?
Doug Lyman. Yeah.
Some would say the Born Identity guy.
He would also have other stuff.
Maybe he did some things between swingers.
Well,
Ray Fiennes lost to Tommy Lee Jones that year
The
What?
Fugitive.
for The Fugitive.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a good role, though.
No, compared to.
Yeah.
Well, Tommy Lee Jones is
Tommy Lee Jones is
interesting because
badass,
like
but-
he's got this thing now where he doesn't even really need to act because he just like is very still in everything he does because people take so much of their thoughts and emotion about Tommy Lee Jones into whatever movie it is. So he can just like say things very slowly and stilly and not move, and you're like, that was an amazing
Yeah,
performance.
that's exactly how it
But
was.
it actually is an amazing performance. He's just outthinking the audience.
It's like that's exactly how I would describe it, like in No Country for Old Men.
Yes.
Like he was amazing in that, but that's exactly what
he
it
just was there, and like there's that scene at the end where he's just
The
like
end is
reading the
perfect.
newspaper, and he does almost nothing. And you're like, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, he just gives that.
How did he figure that out?
He gives that
But
speech
it
about
really-
his
So
dream.
wise.
But it actually is true because the easiest thing to do is, or the hardest thing to do is not overact.
Yep.
And he's just like so restrained. It's unbelievable.
Did you do you ever read much Cormac McCarthy? I know you're a voracious reader.
Nah, his stuff is too. I am, and I should, but his stuff
pretty dense.
is too. It's just too. The themes
Flowery.
are too difficult for me.
It's too much like that last scene in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Which Cormac McCarthy is. It's like it's rambling, and then
Yes.
it ends, and you're like, what the hell just
What
happened?
happened?
And then
Yeah.
later on, you're like, oh yeah, that was really powerful ending.
Yeah.
Kind of sticks with you.
Yeah.
I love Cormac McCarthy.
Like I don't know if you remember this. We were in Boston, and you had just finished The Road. Is that what it's called? The Road.
The Road, yeah.
And you had me read the last chapter while we were waiting for our boss to pick us up or something.
be an
We were like,
asshole.
"This is really good. Just read this." And I just read the last like 8 pages, and I just fucking stood there next to you and just cried for like 10 minutes
I
waiting
did
for
that
our
on purpose.
cab. I'm like, "There's a book."
Yeah.
And Bernie's over there going, "Yeah."
Yeah, I finally
It's actually weird
read
because
that
it's an
also.
upbeat ending. I don't know why he cried so much. It is. They sit down and they watch Battle Royale together. And they hold
And
hands.
then he doesn't remember it 10 years later.
Do you know
Well,
what,
more like 20.
what movie we saw this weekend? It was awesome.
What's that?
Downton Abbey.
Was it good?
It was so good. It
Was
was
it?
great.
I never
yeah,
watched Downton
there was so
Abbey.
much kung fu. It was crazy. That was weird.
I saw the.
It was Downton Abbey, Matrix 4.
I thought
Yeah.
the SNL skit about it was okay.
No, it was, dude. That whole thing that they figured out with that movie is just, or that whole show, is so weird because it's just like, remember when things were terrible for a lot of people, but you understood it wasn't that great, right? It's kind of is like Make Britain Great Again
Yeah.
is like the theme of that movie, but somehow they made it work. It's really weird.
I watched. Were you a big fan of the show?
What's going on with that country?
I wouldn't know what is going on with that country.
I mean, really, what's going on? I mean, we get America. We got the above the title guy with Donald Trump. Like
Right.
everyone's paying attention to him.
And you get-
but fucking UK, it's a mess.
British
I know
Donald
Scotland's
Trump
going to
over
leave the
there.
UK.
What I was thinking about, so I was thinking about this last night. I woke up in the middle of the night, and this is what I woke. Like I woke up like at 4 a.m, and I was like, you know, the EU is really handling this well. No one's talking about like the EU really suffering. The EU is just like it's just
Well,
maintaining.
they're all laughing,
like,
right?
all
I
the
mean, it's
fucking
kind of hilarious.
It's like at least you're not the UK.
Yeah.
No, I just like that dude because he got shut down
Boris
so
Johnson?
hardcore.
Is he gonna end up having to resign or get removed for lying to the Queen?
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
I don't know. Do people do that now? I mean, is that
To
a thing?
resign, yeah,
Yeah.
No,
I mean, honestly, ever since Clinton, it's just like people can just keep saying nah, they're fine.
Yeah, but the Queen is like his boss. Like he's her mouthpiece. So she, according to Gavin, who looked it up, she could kill him if she wanted to.
No shit.
Yeah, she's the only person in England who can commit murder. It wouldn't be murder, just commit death.
She's a tough old lady.
That's crazy.
She can give death.
She can give death. She can
That'd be
grant
scary.
death.
That'd be scary if she could order the death.
Yeah, but then what Gavin said was that the reason she doesn't exercise those powers is then there's nothing to stop the rest of the country from coming after her.
Yeah.
That's why she's the most important piece on the chessboard.
Fair enough.
She's got that power to kill.
She was in every direction.
Everywhere.
She's limber. For her age, you wouldn't know it.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it. It's crazy.
Boris like, can't get me. I'm on a diagonal. She's like,
right.
fuck you, bitch.
Her corgis are like raptors. They come around the side.
He's like the piece that's got to move 2 spaces and 3 spaces over, and she's like, "Choo."
Yeah, but I
Gotcha.
kind of, I don't know. Everything's like, just like.
It's crazy times.
Do you think they'll actually leave?
What's
Do you think Brexit will actually happen?
It has to.
I don't think it will. At this point,
It has
I
to
don't,
this
I don't
month.
think it's going to happen.
Trump is
No.
not going to get impeached. He's going to get reelected.
Or even if he does,
He's gonna get
nothing
reelected by a
happens.
He'll get
significant
impeached by
margin.
the House.
He can
He'll
get
get
impeached.
impeached, but
But he
not
won't get
convicted.
convicted,
'Cause that's what
yeah.
happened to
I
Clinton.
don't think it'll be a
Although-
significant margin. I think it'll be a larger margin that he won this last election, though.
Well, that's it. Remember Bush? Bush came back and like everyone was like, he's gone for sure at the re-election, and he won by what 7% or 7%, like that.
Was it that close?
It was a big lead. Like it was enough to where it was not nearly as. I mean, the one with Al Gore, they were down to like
God.
looking at paper ballots in Florida, you know.
Yeah.
And
I just can't
he
imagine,
gained
like,
5%
Like,
over
fast
the course of
forward
the Iraq War somehow.
4 years, if we still have Giuliani
2.4.
and Trump in our lives,
Hmm?
they're just going to be like openly huffing paint like on national TV.
It was
'Cause
5
they
million
can't
votes.
get any crazier than they are now.
3 million
votes. But do you remember though he was talking about he has political capital now because he won by such a wider margin for the re-election.
I
He's
think
talking about, I got political capital and I'm going to spend it. Remember he kept saying that?
Yeah. I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that, yeah.
I think we can all agree that no matter what side of the political spectrum you fall on, Rudy Giuliani is unhinged.
He's lost his mind.
Yeah.
It's crazy to
He's
watch.
lost his mind.
He
It's
really
like-
is.
and not even. I don't
He was
even
pretty
mean that
popular,
like comically.
mayor.
He was
It's
a
just like-
mayor.
Yeah. It was weird.
It's amazing to watch that 180.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that series on Netflix, Abstract?
abstract now.
It's it's a lot of stuff about design, and they have this one episode where they talk about God, I forget the woman's name. She's really big in typography. But anyway,
Victoria Jackson.
no, but she talks
Also
about
Trumpy.
the design of the Florida ballots that happened.
Oh, how bad they were.
How bad they were, and they interview the woman who designed the ballots for Florida, and it was just like. This is all the space I had. I figured I would stagger the names and have it in the middle. It's like I can see now that it's confusing, and it's just like this weird thing you wouldn't think about, like this, just the way the ballot was laid out, just a design choice, maybe through the
Maybe
election.
through the election.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the woman who designed the ballot, I believe in that episode, she's like, yeah, I wonder about that all the time. Like if the design I chose for a ballot changed the outcome of a presidential election.
Rough.
It's interesting.
Fuck.
That's kind of a bummer. Oh.
Baby's all asleep. He's gonna give me the baby. I can like say hi to the baby.
I saw that.
Baby's
Can we
coming
fly
in.
that baby in?
Fly the baby.
Speaking of flying babies, Japan Airlines is going to have a map now. When you book a flight on Japan Airlines, it shows you where babies are on the plane.
That was the best transition or segue I have ever seen in a podcast. That was really good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I was ready.
very good.
What?
Were you waiting? Did
They've
you have
got
that
a
queued
map
up
on
waiting
the-
Well,
for
I
the
knew I
baby
wanted
to
to bring it
baby
up at
start?
some point, and then she said fly a baby, and I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Great.
They've got a map on the plane where babies.
When you book your flight, you can know how close you are to a baby. I think between 8 months and 2 years or something like that.
You have probably take it back.
Yeah, so you can see, if you're sitting next to one.
Because if you see a human baby on a plane, that's a big problem. But an emotional support horse. Have you seen this?
Go on.
Emotional support horse.
No.
Somebody brought it on a fucking plane.
I don't believe
No.
that.
Look up emotional support horse.
Is it an advice animal?
No.
Is it an emotional animal?
This is going to be one of the funniest pictures you'll ever fucking see in your life.
What is this? this got to
But
be.
human babies, our own offspring, are a problem. But people are going on fucking planes with horses.
This has got to be photoshopped.
Nope. There it is. Emotional support horse.
Oh, it's a baby horse.
It's a miniature horse. Emotional
Yeah.
support miniature horse.
No.
Yep.
This is hospitals back there. No, this is terminal too. Damn.
I'm sorry. I'm yelling right. I'm holding baby. Yelling. Shh. Shh. This is the last time I promise.
Cat is very happy to see the baby.
I saw somebody flying with
sweet
a
baby.
potbelly pig not too long ago.
No, you didn't.
Oh.
Were we on the
LAX.
same plane?
No, they were just in the terminal waiting to get on the plane. I got on a different plane.
That's
I was
crazy.
with the Rooster
Mommy,
Teeth
he
people. It
wants
was we were flying back from something.
Thank you for bringing him to see me. You want to say hi? Ashley's recovered really. Ashley's taken. Oh my god!
There you go.
No.
That was not it, but
But seriously, it's like so they're showing a picture of what looks like to be a gigantic pig that a woman is somehow carrying.
Maybe she's gonna get hungry on the flight. Maybe it was a long flight and no meal service.
there you go.
Hi, little boo. Hi, buddy. I'm gonna give that to Mommy
Terrible.
now. His pacifier's hanging out there.
Problem with the emotional support animal kind of thing as a concept, but can you name anything? Like, could you have an emotional support raccoon?
Dude, if we're at horses,
As long
or
as
a bat?
there's a certification process.
if we're at horses,
You
I mean, we're
certify a
there.
raccoon?
What?
I don't know what.
You know what?
Or a possum?
You prove that they don't have diseases.
You just,
maybe.
you just gave me a great idea.
What?
Can I name like Gus as an emotional support animal, and then he just gets to go on a plane with me?
Why not?
Emotional support
Emotional
Gus.
support human.
Yeah.
Emotional support.
This is my emotional support human, and he has to go on a flight with me. Because I don't think they bought a seat for the pig, or did they?
No, I was on board with somebody who had emotional support dog that was like a giant dog. It was like a big lab.
What
and
happened?
she was in the middle seat. It was ridiculous.
We missed some big poo by like 30 seconds. Apparently.
Nice.
So, let's poo in our lives. Well, watching Ashley and the baby, it's just amazing. There's like nothing more pure than mother's love. It's just like the baby he just like locks into her and stares at her and stares at her and stares at her, for hours at a time. It's just amazing, And she's like his whole world. Like she's his comfort, his food, everything. Like he depends on her for every single thing in his life. It's fucking amazing.
It sounds
Amazing
pretty good.
process. Yeah, right? I also love milk trunk babies. Milk trunk's like my
Milk
favorite thing
trunk
in the
is
world.
amazing.
When the baby gets enough filled up with warm milk, and then they're just like,
It must be weird raising a kid though, at this stage versus, 15 years ago. How long was what's Teddy?
17.
Yeah.
JD, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean,
It's the same age as Rooster Teeth.
because now you have like things like they have automated like baby rockers and stuff like that with a remote and Bluetooth and crazy.
Well, he had
shit,
that
right?
shit with the spring that you'd wind up and it would click, click, click,
Right.
click. Yeah.
The
Right.
shit that Michael shows me routinely that they have for their kids is like they're living in the future.
It's
and it
pretty
was only
nuts.
like 15, Millie's 14, so it's
That's
like
the most-
14 years ago.
I think taking care of a baby with mechanical stuff is the most Jetsons shit we have.
Yeah.
Like we didn't get much Jetsons shit, We got a bunch of other weird shit, but like when you have like a rocker that is like automated and you can turn it on and off at with a Bluetooth with your phone, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Although I'm more conscious of it now, the baby in the house, but it's like, does everything really need to broadcast a Bluetooth signal or a Wi-Fi signal? Like everything in my house? Like I wonder if you took like a scope and could see the waves in
Yeah,
your
you
house.
think they're
and what that would
cancer
look like.
beams?
I don't know. I just I see those pictures from the 50s. Everyone's in a nightclub and everybody's fucking smoking while Frank Sinatra's on stage.
Yeah.
And then it's like 20 years later, like, oh yeah, that stuff will kill you. It's like, well, of course that was going to kill you.
And ours is going to be Ed Sheeran and Bluetooth. That's just terrible.
And vaping. Like they're just
Awful.
coming around now. Vaping is breathing oil into your lungs,
That
heated
shouldn't be a
oil.
surprise. Nobody was surprised by this.
Nobody was surprised by it. But would you be surprised if 20 years from now they said, oh, everyone has brain tumors now because they held a radio transceiver up to their head on a regular basis?
No,
I don't know.
I-
Anna made a vaping post that was controversial because we have
controversial?
a family. Well, we had because a lot of people yelling at her about the post online that because we have a family member who's younger in his early 20s, and did the vaping thing as one of those people that you hear about that got the weird lung disease and was in
Like the oil pocket in his lung. Kind
Yeah,
of
he
whatever
had
it is.
permanent lung damage.
And they don't know what it
vaping.
is. They're just trying to figure out what it is.
Right. And so she made this cautionary post, and a lot of people responded with, don't tell me what to do, kind of basically was the response,
Yeah.
Which I get, I mean,
Yeah.
but just like,
But you should be able to warn people.
Wouldn't you rather know?
Wouldn't you rather have the information? Right.
Right.
Just be
Wouldn't you
informed
rather,
about what it is that you're
wouldn't
doing.
you rather know?
Well, we see that all the time. It's like we talked about this in a couple podcasts ago, or I guess it's been a while since I've been on the podcast, but it's this Greta Thunberg's been in the news all over the place. That's the other thing too. It's like someone can say something about climate change and people have a very visceral reaction to it. It's
Dude.
like I compost all my stuff. It's like, well, I'm not gonna do that. It's a waste of time, and here's why it's a waste of time for you. It's like just
I had the-
let people do what they
I'll
want to do.
go
to
you
help.
one further. I'll sell you a plastic straw.
Right.
I had the weirdest experience the other day. A guy rolled coal at me. I was in.
Because you have an electric car.
I have an electric car. I'm driving my electric car, not thinking anything about it. And he's coming the other way down the street. It was a big truck. He slowed down next to me and rolled coal and then kept going, it was very clear that he had done it to like be next to me in order to set it off. And I'm like, how does that improve your day?
Yeah.
You know, like what is better about your life now after having done it? I just don't get it. It's just a really like weird mentality. Like it's not going to help you. It doesn't help me. It doesn't help anybody. Why does it make? I don't know why it makes you feel
buying
better.
an electric car, weirdo.
I guess.
Yeah, like
it's so odd.
And at his core, does he have an issue with you caring about?
I don't know.
The thing I wonder is
It's the same thing as the Greta
you're not
Thunberg
using
thing.
any more gas,
Right.
So there should be more gas for him,
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
more,
it's
and more coal. I guess. I mean, then.
Well, maybe you're taking his coal because maybe we have a coal power plant.
Oh, okay. That's the thing. I'm shutting down coal plants.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It always comes down to jobs.
there you go.
Jobs. That's the thing.
But
that-
I don't think he was a coal miner because he was in Austin.
Doesn't matter. It's jobs. Jobs, the most important thing. Gotta
Yeah.
have a job. And it's like anything that takes jobs or kills jobs.
But it's like we have other jobs.
Right. We have other jobs. And it's like a lot of people who want to shut down coal plants would also be the same people who would invest in re-education so that people go off and find new careers in like solar or wind or something like that.
Right.
No, don't vote for those guys. Vote for the guys that are going to keep the coal plant open.
Yeah.
Even though, guess
You
what?
know, there's a lot of
You're not gonna keep the coal
other
plant
jobs we have. We used to have switchboard operators,
Yeah.
right? We don't have switchboard operators anymore. I don't think anybody's too upset about
Was it CGP Grey who did the video about how we'll get to a point where humans don't have to work anymore and you have to have like a living wage?
Post-employment. Yeah.
Right. And, and then the example he gave was horses. Like horses used to have to work all the time. Like you would, have to ride them for transportation. You have to use them to plow fields. And now horses are unemployed.
Well, they're permanent vacation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like now horses have leisure time. Like I thought about this the other day. I was driving down the road and it was like a horse in a trailer being pulled by a truck. I was like, that fucking horse hasn't made.
Yeah.
Like 100 years ago, that horse would have been pulling the equivalent of the truck.
right.
Like now it's riding in the back of a truck. It's like it's got its head out the little window looking around. It's like,
spoiled ass horse.
man, wish I was that horse.
Yeah, I wish I had the
Don't look
perspective of going back and like I guess I could read old newspapers from like 150 years ago or 100 years ago and be like, oh, the wagon wheel industry is really pissed off about cars because all the wagon wheel repairmen are out of businesses now.
Well, it's just also like, I don't know. Some of these jobs are just like they're bad jobs.
They're not. That's what I was going to say. It's
Why
like,
do you want to go get cancer?
Why do you want to be in the coal
in a
mine, right?
It makes no sense. You know.
The mentality is that that's what they've done. They don't know what else they can do. And that's part of it, right? It's fear, the unknown, not knowing what else you can do after you've been doing that for 15, 20 years. It'd be like if I had to stop doing this after 16 years and I had to go start mining coal. I'd be like, well, I'm fucking terrified of that.
100%.
We talked about,
and I think it's probably easy for people who have jobs that aren't in jeopardy because of the advance of technology to talk about things like this in a cavalier way. But, like as a society, we should all be trying to get the best jobs for people who need to work, not something where you fucking kill yourself, to do something that's outdated and hurts everybody else in the process.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the purpose
and
of
the
that?
same people
It makes
that
no
make fun
sense.
of people in China like jumping off buildings because they're in a factory where they're doing the same thing every day. You know what I mean? Like, look at China. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's like, is it how much different is that on the scale?
Yeah.
And it's like if we had those jobs in America, you'd be fighting to keep those.
We're trying to get those back, right?
We're trying to get those jobs.
We want to manufacture things in the United States.
It's just and it's hard. It's really hard when you live with something that's such a basic part of life, like being employed. It's hard to imagine the world without it because you imagine just how you can only imagine this
The world
world
that you're
if
in.
your job goes away or if everybody's job went away overnight. But going to a thing where we don't have jobs and we just all have a basic income is something that's going to probably happen.
Well,
it's not from like advancements in technology for energy and stuff like that, just automation. you know?
Don't you think
all the transportation jobs are about to go away?
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm particularly supporting Yang over any other candidates, but don't you think he's like
Weiss.
way out in front of this issue just generally? Like he's the only one that's talking about automation like being the thing that really threatens just what our culture and our society is just generally, and we have to come to terms with that. And if you look at like income,
Is he the Alibaba guy?
Alibaba, no, Andrew Yang, the
presidential
candidate.
right?
Who's John Ma? Is that the
the guy who had the thing with Elon Musk. Where Elon Musk
they
was making
started
fun of him?
raising the flag on population collapse.
Yeah,
which is I think it's a thing.
Jack Ma.
Jack Ma.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it's like Freddie Wong had a great tweet we talked about before. I think it was Freddie, where he said, "I'm old enough to remember when robots taking over people's jobs was a good thing."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a disruption that's hard.
It is, but it's a natural progression. It's like the same thing we were talking about is you want progress, but it's change that makes progress possible.
right.
People don't like change. They do not like change. I just feel bad for
I don't
a
like
dude.
having an empty glass.
You know, it's a great.
It's not working for me.
Well, you're talking about this guy Al Snow and how people can like really summarize things and make a really salient point. I think one of the things that like is a really important thing people should watch is SNL did a sketch for Black Jeopardy with Tom Hanks on it that's totally distilled down like what does the urban disenfranchised voting population has so much in common with the white rural disenfranchised population, and they don't see it. They're not allowed to like share their experience. And Tom Hanks is on Black Jeopardy. He's wearing like a MAGA hat and everything, but he's really good at Black Jeopardy because he understands all the questions and it's just a great sketch. It's such a great sketch.
That was last season, right?
Yeah, I don't
It was
know.
older than that. Like
I think it's pretty old.
it's
three or four
Yeah.
seasons ago now.
And I really wish people could see that. I really wish people could see how similar their problems are and what the causes of those problems are. And maybe, just maybe, a billionaire is not going to solve the problem of a dude who's scratching by paycheck to paycheck.
You know what's a great way to get some perspective is to read a book that was written a novel that was written 75 to 150 years ago. It's just any novel. And you'll realize every problem those people had is identical to the problems we have right now.
Tuberculosis?
Yeah, sure.
Well, now, yeah, because people are fucking
we have
anti-vax.
anti-vaxxers.
Well, John Steinbeck said he described Americans as a population of temporarily embarrassed millionaires. That's what the poor in America are. Like in the Depression, they were all going to be millionaires and they couldn't believe they were going through this. So we need to protect millionaires because eventually I'll be one.
Right.
One
It's
day.
but like
Steinbeck said
Wow, that's really interesting.
I'm reading. I've been reading it forever because I've been too busy to read lately. But I'm reading Crime and Punishment right now, which takes place in Russia in the late 1800s. And it's like every issue, like running from the landlord, like going out the window because you don't want to go by the landlord who's going to be looking for your rent, and like scrounging around trying to convince people to buy you beer. It's all the same day-to-day problems that these people have that people have today. And it's like, it's amazing how much the world has changed since 1885, but how little the world has changed since 1885.
Yeah.
This Side of Paradise is not J.D. Salinger, who wrote Great Gatsby? F. Scott Fitzgerald. F. Scott Fitzgerald wrote a semi-autobiographical novel about his college days that takes place at the turn of the century. It takes place during World War I. And it's called This Side of Paradise. And you read that, and it sounds like you're reading a journal or a diary of a 19-year-old going to college in 2019.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And that's part of why I like to read, and I read so much older stuff. It's like it reminds you how little things change. How similar we all are and how similar we've been at our core for a very long time.
Well, I do think there's something that's outpaced everything else, which is like the goals of politicians and the way that politics works seems like consistent for millennia, like going back to Roman times, right? But if you look at that, like what the masses, the people who really put these people in power, what they've had to deal with, go back to the term bread and circuses, right? That's what keeps the populations just happy. Bread and circuses, the curve on that has been nuts, like going through to religion, going through then to television. Now the internet, I mean, nothing holds a candle to that. Like, I really think the internet is, and this is something I'm always thinking about when we do what we do. You always think about the This Is America video with Donald Glover. It's like that, those people dancing in the foreground. It's like, it's so easy to like just think you're dealing with an issue or having the impact. Like you talk about people from hundreds of years ago, there'd be revolutions and, you know, they would take people out and cut their heads off with guillotine and stuff like that. It's not going to happen now. It's not because people will like something on Facebook, they'll get that like reaction that they've done something and they haven't done something, or there'll be something new. Like this Hong Kong thing is amazing to me. It's like, it's so crazy that JD is graduating high school with this Hong Kong thing going on. And it's exactly the same time, my senior year, when Tiananmen Square was happening. Yeah. And it's just like, and it's like in 2 years, no one will talk about this. Yeah. It won't matter.
It's kind of unbelievable how smart they are too. Like if you watch what the protesters are doing with destroying the tear gas in those canisters, and they taking down the facial recognition cameras and all those things. Like the type of I don't know what you call it, warfare. Basically, the protest is on a completely different level with today's technology, and you think of like China being this kind of like oppressive, totalitarian state, and the fact that there are these kids, young people, who are out there kind of like figuring out ways to fight back on some of the stuff that seems monolithic and impossible to stop. I don't know. Like in some ways, it gives me hope, even though the situation is terrible.
Have you seen the thing where now, as the protesters are being arrested, they'll start shouting their name because they know they're being filmed, so that way they know like that's who it was, and they're being taken into the system. So that way they can't be. Well, if they're lost, then there's some accountability.
There's that on both sides. Like they hit them with water cannons that have blue dye in them now, so they can find them later.
Right, but then the other people are.
Yeah.
But, I also saw they had the police are dressing up as protesters now.
That was a scary image. It's one of those things. Once you see it, it's like, of course.
Yeah.
There's nothing like, to me, more frightening than when conspiracy theories are then suddenly true.
Yeah.
You know, it's like cops. They were dressed as protesters, and they got found out, and they get out their batons, and they're dressed like protesters with batons and guns and everything else.
Well, there's something about the dishonesty of it that's unsettling.
It's unfair.
You know, it's just like, well, the protesters are out there. We're protesting. We're being straightforward about what we want, and the other side can show up and try to stop them, but to show up and be deceptive about it, or like not carry out their side of the argument, you know, honestly, is scary.
I wonder about that a lot in comments I read online, not just about our stuff, but about anything I read in general, like whether it's a news site or any video. It's like, who is the person behind this comment? Is this someone working the agenda of this thing that I read, or is it someone who's working an opposing agenda, who's posing just like as hey, I'm just another person who's come across this article? Like, so I have to read everything online that is user generated with a huge grain of salt. Because like there is no accountability for this. I don't know if this person's working for or against the thing that I just looked at.
Yep.
It's really scary.
It is scary.
So last year in 2018 was the first time this happened, but it's like growing in number, which is we're having unmanned drones taking down unmanned drones in war zones. And it's like one of those things, it's like, you can't just ignore when that's going by. That's a crazy thing. It's like there's robots killing robots.
That's the start of Horizon Zero Dawn.
It's a Will Smith movie. It's a future Will Smith movie.
It's nuts. God, I think about that all the time. Like one of the things I won't miss about my web influencer life is some stuff that I had to do. And one of the things I won't miss is like being involved directly, I think, with YouTube on that side, like the YouTube Creator Summit and stuff like that. I always left that feeling like, man, just like how crazy powerful that room is with 200 of the top creators. And it's always like, I know that like if a computer algorithm, if a little flag is changed in that algorithm, all 200 of these people will change the way they're doing. If this computer algorithm decides video should be 8 minutes, all of our content is 8 minutes long. And it's a powerful group of people in
That's the real matrix right there.
I mean, you just described Achievement Hunter in the last 10, 11 years playing that YouTube algorithm.
Then you like modify what you're doing, right? Based on what the algorithm is going to reward.
It's not just that. It's also computer stock trading. You know, most stock trading is algorithmic. There's very few people still making those decisions. It's like this number moved down, this number moved up, I'm going to sell or I'm going to buy. It's like millions or billions of dollars change hands because an algorithm thought, oh, this is the time to execute this.
I remember even as a kid, I'd hear on the news, like, well, it's down, 10 points in after hours trading. Like, what is after hours trading? When I was a kid, I was fascinated. I was like, who has access to after hours? Like, as a kid, I'm like, that's not fair if someone can trade after hours. It just didn't make any sense to me. Speaking of stocks, though, one of the movies I watched this weekend, I was going to watch 2 minutes of it and then watch the whole thing, is Primer. What a fucking great movie.
Oh my God, I was just thinking about that.
What a great movie, man.
I was just recommending it to Lewis.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Primer's such a great film.
Such a great movie.
Dallas, right?
Yeah, I mean, Dallas, like for like $5,000 or something like that.
What did those guys do after that? Anything?
He made
Upstream Color?
Yes.
Yep. Upstream Color.
Upstream Color.
I don't think I ever saw it.
Shane Carruth.
Yeah.
Any good?
I thought it was interesting. It wasn't nearly as like viscerally impacting as. Is it Primer or Primer? What do you say?
Primer.
I said Primer, so I said Primer. Yeah. Primer.
I think it's supposed to be Primer, but
but we say it correctly.
I feel like I'm saying it wrong either way.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
All right, it's about time to wrap this up.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Congratulations on your career.
Thanks. Here at the end. Gus, any thoughts for me? I, Gus, you in particular, I really wonder how much I'm going to see you after this. Because is it fair to say 98% of our interaction takes place on this podcast? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. We text.
But usually in relation to the podcast.
Yeah, usually. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that or I'm going to talk about this or I send you just like a link to something.
Yeah.
But I will say, we have started getting lunch together on a regular basis. We'll continue
That's
that,
been
right?
nice.
Oh no, that's out too.
We're going to continue to get lunch together. You're more than welcome to come.
Extra
I'm going to
meal.
be Twitch streaming during that. Sorry.
Chained to the desk.
Well, it's fun. Being a web influencer was a lot of fun. And it's one of those things, it's like, just like at the top of this, when I said that people will often say, hey, I'm not going very far away. And I'm not calling out anyone in particular. Everyone does this because it's like usually people are involved with a big brand. Ray did it when he left Achievement Hunter. Bruce did it when he moved on from Funhouse. You should say that. It's like, I'll be around because you don't want people to get scared about the thing you helped build. But I also think it's important too. Like I was going to say this to Bruce at the time. It's like, it's okay to pause and like say, this is the end of a thing and this is good and this thing was good and there'll be something new later. You don't have to not pretend, but just insinuate that it's going to continue.
Yeah.
Likewise, I've also learned in my life, don't ever say never or say, I'm never going to do this again. I'm never going to, because, 2 years from now, I'll be like, I need to do this. Jeff asked me at dinner last night. He goes, you're going to miss the outlet, on a weekly basis to be able to talk to a lot of people and share your thoughts. And last night I was like, no, but maybe in 2 years, maybe that'll be happening.
Well, I think you're going to be able to share your thoughts in a different way.
Yeah.
Going forward, like, putting your cool ideas and themes and things you want to say into new pieces, not doing what you're doing now, but that's going to be awesome too.
We got a little baby crying
And
over
the
there.
baby
That's almost like
someone else is very
cute.
unhappy about it.
Yeah, he's unhappy about this being my last podcast. But I always think too, I've always said this, I have a retirement idol. Remember who my retirement idol?
Is it me?
It's fucking Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson.
Johnny Carson should be everybody's retirement idol.
Anyway, it's just like
Maybe not living life idol, but retirement idol.
And while I'm not retiring, it's I'm still gonna go on and work on projects. It's like this. I feel like this part of my career is over. This part of it. It's like, to paraphrase what he says, like enormous privilege, enormous honor for people to welcome you into their lives, and it's been a very great privilege for me to be able to sit in this seat for 10 years. And I hope you'll welcome whoever ends up sitting in this seat after me. And to use his words, it's like, if I ever find something that I want to do again, I hope that you will be as gracious as inviting me back into your life as you have been. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Love you, Burnie.
Oh, and I switched to Android. I should have brought that up.
Did you really?
I want you to leave us a comment on this video right now. Is Matt dressed up as the Big Lebowski or Thor? I think we're going to be pretty surprised about the results of it. And while you're leaving the comment, you can go ahead and like and subscribe and click on the bell and all that shit.
I know you won't.
But leave a comment for sure. Do that.
Do it for Jeff.